Oh, good evening. Welcome to Monday again. I've just posted links, the usual routine. We've got one on the Stunt Hanger channel, YouTube channel chat box next to this video, and we've got one in streaming videos at the bench thread on stunthanger.com. So feel free to join up, and we'll talk about aero modeling or whatever else comes up. It's turned out to be a pretty good weekend. We had a meeting up in Huntersville, just the usual monthly meeting, but we fly in the morning and don't have the meeting till about 2 o'clock. So I went up there with my P40 and maidened it, and she did pretty good. Hey Ken, how you doing tonight? That's Ken over on YouTube. We don't have anybody live with us yet, but hopefully someone will be drifting in. But anyway, got the P40 maidened, and it flew okay. It needs some trimming, as I think all of them do. It flew with the outboard tip low, both upright and inverted, and it also flew with it lower upright and less low inverted. So we got a flap and a wingtip weight adjustment. So we are working on that. And I knew when I put the wingtip weight in that thing, according to the booklet, that it was going to be too much. It said to put 1.5 ounces in, and I was never had to put 1.5 ounces in one before to balance it out. And so I took a 1/2 ounce out, and it got better. And then my glasses were so fouled with sweat, and it was time for the meeting, and we were soaking wet. It got hot out there. So hopefully tomorrow or Thursday I'll get out to the field and finish trimming it. I think I'm about there. I put a couple of flights on it, and on the second flight it flew pretty well. I was able to do a wing over with some semblance of authority, but I'm still walking backwards to do loops when I've got a breeze at my back, so I shouldn't have to be doing that. But anyway, that'll be part of this week's aeronautic activities. And so anyway, y'all feel free to drop in and chat, and I'll be here. I don't know, I'll probably be here for 2 or 3 hours, something like that. Got 2 viewers. Ken Colbert is one of them, and says doing well and I'm alive. That's good to know. So yeah, I'm alive too. I tell you what, after a day of flying out in the hot sun, though, I was pretty wasted when I got back Saturday. And Sunday I had some aches and pains, but all better now. So hopefully, I also, one thing about the P40 that I need to do is something that is the bane of aero modelers everywhere, is make trim tabs for it. You know, you see a trim tab on a plane and that exposes poor building, but this is an ARF. So the flap coupler is so weak that I can't really adjust it by bending it. And so I'm going to tape some different trim tabs on it. I made about 3 or 4 of them. I think I made a 25, 35, a 45, and a 50-degree tab, and I'll tape them on one at a time and see which one straightens it out. John Sanchez, he's the other. Hi, John. Thanks for joining us. And now we got Gerald from New Zealand. How you doing tonight, Gerald? You're our first video guest.
I'm doing well, thank you. And yourself?
I'm pretty good. The weather's gotten really nice. It's only in the high 70s, low 80s here past couple of days, although windy. But on Saturday we just about roasted trying to fly up at my club in North Carolina. But Sunday and today were really nice. It's like September's come a week early. Of course, we go in the other direction from you on weather. When it gets closer to September, we're looking at fall coming. But so what you and the boys been up to?
Well, weather's been changing like yours, and as we come on to spring, it's very windy. But we went along to fly on Sunday, but we were just blown away by the wind. It was just unbelievably windy.
Did you get any flying in at all?
We didn't. I promised the boys, I said, if it's a fine day after school, I'll get you flying after school at home. We managed to mow one of our flying fields. It's dried out enough to mow one, so they're quite keen. The older one in particular, Otto, is really keen to get some extra flying in. So it's encouraging to see him really keen. But yeah, the weather's just improving. The blossoms are out, and the flowering cherry trees flowering, and
that's wonderful.
So we're both at a good period right now, I suppose, where it's probably good flyable weather for.
If it's anything like it is here, when springtime comes, the wind gets unstable, and you never just know what it's going to do from one day to the next. But it's worth it in the end. So
yeah, it helps encourage you to build anyway. It gets you eager because you know there's good weather on the way. Nice to have some new models going. So trying to get the boys motivated, and my wife motivated as well. My wife's got a one of the Brodeck what are they called, Tiger Cat, the little profile carrier model that she's going to make up for 2 LA-15s.
Oh. So does she fly in carrier contests?
We don't have carrier contests here in the sense that we don't have enough people interested. Different people have flown carrier here in the past, but we don't have a regular enough crowd to actually run a contest. We just do it more out of interest. But most of the interest is in stunt and combat and team racing. And scale really misses out as well. So I'm forced to build some new stunt models, knowing that if you want to fly in a contest, you've got to have a stunt model.
Yeah, I think stunt and combat both are the easiest ones to get into when it comes to money and time spent, working on your equipment. Hey, Wally Haskett's here with us.
Hello, Wally.
Good evening, Wally.
How you doing this evening?
We're all pretty good, just getting cranked up here. Welcome to the Stunt Hanger Hangout.
Well, thank you. Good to join you.
What you been up to?
Oh, I've been out in my yard working and doing stuff that I shouldn't be doing. I wonder why my back hurts.
Yeah, my wife's been pulling weeds and made her back sore too. She loves working out in the yard and the garden, but man, we're starting to get old. We can't do anything without getting sore anymore.
Isn't that something?
I was telling Gerald I was just sore Sunday just from flying on Saturday.
Yeah, how was the flying?
Oh, it was pretty good. It was actually good flying weather other than being hot. And I went to Huntersville for our club meeting and took the P40 with me and maidened it, put 2 flights on it. And it still needs some trimming between the tip weight and the flaps, but nothing else seems to be wrong. The engine runs are great, and it seems like a solid plane. I just still have to walk backwards when I do loops, and it shouldn't be doing that. It's got a bad outboard wingtip down, and it's worse upright than it is inverted. So that means we got a flap adjustment going on too. So I'm working at that.
You'll get there. Yeah, you'll get there.
I made some trim tabs to try next time we go out. I hate using those, especially if I built the plane, but being an ARF, I don't feel too ashamed of putting the trim tab on it to straighten it out.
Yeah, I wanted to show you guys a couple of Venturis that I've made. Actually, I made part of one, and a machinist has done the other 2, but I forgot about this one. Oh, it needs an O-ring too. This one here is my son's. I don't know if you can get a good picture of that, see that good or not.
Pull it back a little.
It has the Fox style feed tube with the, you
Oh, I
know,
see.
the
Yeah. With the needle valve coming off the feed tube comes
yes,
off
same
behind the
side.
needle valve.
And what that really works good for is because if you're going to have an airplane engine inverted, then you can have your fuel tube feed come on this side and still have your needle valve adjustment here. I put an extension on these, and then you can still have your exhaust coming out this way, either a tongue muffler or a muffler, and you're out of the way of your adjustment with your needle valve being on this side.
Yeah.
And I really like that. And then, now this is something I haven't done yet.
Before you get away from that one, let me ask you this. What does the spray bar look like inside? Is it one of the open-ended ones, like a spigot, or is it got a plug in the end and a hole that shoots straight down the venturi?
Yeah, see this one here, you can see it on this side easier. It goes in, and then there's a screw that goes in this side. Can you see that there?
Yeah.
That holds it in, and that plugs it off. And then inside, halfway inside, is your hole, which goes, you know, straight down for your suction to
like
take it.
Any other spray bar would be. Okay.
Okay, that's this one. And now this one here is on a Magnum Pro 45, which is the same engine he has in his Oriental and the same one I have in my Smoothie. It's the same engine.
Back it up just a little bit.
I have the same carburetor set up on mine.
Back it up just a little bit.
Okay. And then he has a Fox 40 ball bearing on his twister.
Yeah.
That has this same carburetor setup. It works real good for him.
Cool.
And then what he does on his is he has a tank that has the fuel tube coming out of the top. So he just runs his fuel line around the top here.
Yeah.
And hooks it up, and it works really well.
Daryl just joined us. How you doing, Daryl?
Yeah, hi, Daryl.
Hello, Daryl.
Hey, not bad, you?
We good. It's,
good to have you, man.
Daryl and Wally and me now. So we're developing a crowd.
These engines are a little heavy, but they're, you know, they're snarled, and they run really smooth. And I think it's designed off of the OS SR engine. It looks really, really close to the SR. Even the guts inside. So anyway, then I have this one here is actually a SR, but it's the 60, and this is Venturi that I got from that Shutterman or whatever it is, that guy.
That's his name. Yeah.
Yeah, he has a lot of your Inu parts. Well, I got this one from him, and then I had to turn down the outside here that goes down the barrel to fit the barrel. And anyway, that's the reason why I got this tape on the head here is because it holds the needle valve right here. But it's this one here has I put the Super Tiger needle valve assembly on this one. And that I've run this engine, runs really strong, so it's a good engine. Now this one here is a Fox needle valve assembly that you set up for a remote. And you see right here the needle valve O-ring right here. Can you see that?
You're under the camera now. Yeah, there you go. Now you're front center.
And that's good. But it's got an O-ring right here. And the one when I was flying the other day on my shoestring that's on it, the O-ring, I was getting that run.
Leaking air. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was because this O-ring right here was broke. So I got to find me some O-rings that's this size. I've got some O-rings like this black one right here that's on here, but it's not exactly the same size. It needs to have a little bit bigger OD. The inside diameter is good, but the OD needs to be a little more because the needle valve here actually seals, the inside of it seals on the O-ring. And that's what keeps your air from, you know, sucking in there. And that was my problem the other day when this one broke.
Yeah.
So I got to go to the bearing shop tomorrow and see if I can get them to fit me up with any of these little O-rings. They should be able to fit me up. If not, I'm going to have to call and see if those guys over there at K&B have some O-rings. I noticed on their website that they have some of these needle valve assemblies, and they have a needle valve, which I might buy from them, but I'm going to see if they have any of the O-rings at the same time. I hope they do, or at least if they don't, they'll give me the number and see if somebody can match it, or if it's just one of them things you got to buy from the manufacturer.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll do that screwy stuff.
Ken Colbert says that Lowe's might have the O-rings, and I know I've seen 1/8 inch O-rings at Lowe's before too. I was looking for some to seal bladders with one time, and found some 1/8, and I don't know if that one's smaller than that or not.
Well, this one here is probably almost a quarter inside, and it's at least 5/16 outside.
We got some YouTube activity going on over here. Carlos JC says, "Hey dudes, which is the difference of the old engines for FAI fuel and all the actual engines?" Not sure how to answer that.
Yeah, I don't either.
FAI fuel is all castor and alcohol with that. Well, I don't know about all. It's all oil and alcohol with no nitromethane. And that's all I can tell you about FAI fuel. Usually, I think I've mixed FAI fuel at 70, 30 for alcohol and castor for breaking in a MP jet engine one time. 70% methanol and 30% castor oils, the way I did it. But Carlos, that's all I can tell you about it. But we got some other guys coming in here later probably that can maybe give you a better answer on that.
Yeah, I wonder if I'm trying to think. Combat guy, who does a combat? If they've ever mixed any fuels.
I don't know. I get it mixed up.
He's been on here quite a bit.
Terry does a little bit of everything, and Minnesota Mike does too. Okay, we got a comment on that. Top Brent, hey Top Brent, I know you from Stunt Hanger. Says Carlos is probably referring to the high compression engines like Stalker Enyas with the high compression head, and gosh, FAI fuel with high compression and no nitro. I don't know.
You know, I've never messed with any of that stuff. Hey Charles.
Hey, what's up, guys?
And not much. Hey, have you ever done any fuel mixing? Have you ever done any, Daryl?
Me, no.
I've done a little bit.
Have you ever taken any of the older fuel that's like going old, going bad, and actually put more nitro in it to soup it up a little? Have you ever tried that?
I have thought about doing that. I just haven't done that yet.
I got an old can that's about half a gallon. It's old from last year, and
remember, it's got water in it too.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe I'll just dump it because I've still got some more that hasn't been even opened up, and see how they work. If you've got
old engines that need cleaning, you know, keep it in big mason jars and just, you know, chunk an engine in it and let it sit until you're ready to work on it. So that's still good for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
The only way I'd use old fuel would be if it's not too old. If it's more than 2 years old, it's weed killer. But if it's only a year old, then I just add some castor to it and use it for running in motors. Bring it up to like 25–30%.
If it's stored in metal cans, it'll keep for a long time too. If you keep it at a, you know, reasonable temperature.
Yeah, I got 3 gallons of VP fuel in my basement, and yeah, they're a metal can, and they've got a plastic seal in them that you have to pop out when you open them up. You know, they've never been opened, so maybe this 1/2 gallon, I'll get rid of it and then try a new gallon to see how it works.
Brent says SIG sells FAI fuel in 50/50 synthetic castor mix.
Yeah, I used to make up my fuel in these little metal tins when I didn't want to use a whole 5-gallon tin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like little 1/4-gallon tins, but I kept having problems with the condensation building up in them, and then I was getting rust in the fuel.
Yeah.
So I
I'm
stopped back
thinking,
to plastic
you can go
bottles.
to the paint store and they'll sell you clean, empty new cans. And I'm thinking about going and getting some quart cans to divide my gallons up into. That way it'll fit in my flight box. And I'll, I'm not probably going to use a quart in a day's flying, but I can always keep the rest of the gallon in the car and have that quart out in the sun, where I'm taking the top on and off. Every time you take the top off, you foul it a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I went to little quart bottles, and they're quite convenient because I can put them in the flight box and keep them out of the sun. And I've got like a big chili bin I use as my flight box for the fuel. And when I've got a sore back, I can sit on it. That's another big bonus of having it in a chili bin. And it works well, but I had a problem with stale fuel in the past, so I'd just be careful not to muck with stale fuel. And diesel fuel is another one. I still make up diesel fuel, and it's really important to keep that tightly capped. Otherwise, you lose all your ether out of the diesel fuel.
Right. Yeah. It's more volatile than nitromethane. It just evaporates in a hurry. Brent says Nalgene, Nalgene, Nalgene bottles are very good. I'm not sure what that is though. I know sure. One of the things I use for short-term storage is those little 16-ounce milk bottles with the molded seal around the inside of the plastic screw-on cap, and I throw them away after I empty them once, but they are good for just chunking in the flight box.
Huh. That's an idea. Most of the guys that fly a lot you see now are using those bottles that have the, like the ketchup pumps or whatever they have. I'm still using the old rubber bulb that you squeeze and suck it into it. Well, I've used that for years, and I just stayed with it.
I use a graduated syringe so that to get the right amount of fuel. If you're in a contest, you got to know exactly how much you're putting in. So you fill the tank up until it overflows, and then knowing the size of the tank, you pull it back out until you know exactly how much the tank has in it, and if that's the amount you want to run for that round. So I've never been wild about fuel bulbs or the pumps. Like the RC guys use the pumps because I don't think they don't care as long as they got enough fuel. It doesn't matter if they've got more than enough.
Right.
Competition aerobatics, you got to have exactly the right amount, not too much, not too little. So the syringe fits with that.
Yeah, I've never worried about time because I've never ever gone to a contest. I just fly until it runs out of gas and then land the airplane.
Yeah. I fly competition, so even when I'm in practice, I do everything the same way, and that way I got a routine that I don't make mistakes in when I get to the contest.
That's right. Same thing I do.
Yeah.
Get in the groove.
Yeah.
My contest is going home with an airplane in one piece.
Hey, mine too. And not coming in last. That's my second goal.
Well,
I think flying in contests helps keep your plane safe for the most part. But I do the same thing all the time.
Yeah.
The same routine, you're less likely to. When you go out and freelance, and my flying buddy calls it whifferdills, you never know when it's going to run out of gas at the top of a loop, and you're going to be up there with no inertia and nothing but a falling plane, line coiling up at your ankles, So.
Yeah, that's where the routine really helps. And once you break from your routine and you just start flying random stunts, there's always that chance that you'll run out.
Yeah, sure is.
Yeah. And I haven't crashed in 3 years. In the accident I had last week, I didn't really consider that a crash. That was just I didn't get the plane. I didn't ever get control of the plane, so I don't even fault it as a crash.
Yeah, that was just something that was a fluke that just weird to happen, you know.
Yeah, just a mental lapse on my part. Just when I laid the lines down. I ordinarily take the lines out on the plane first, and then I take the lines out in the stooge second, and I put the stooge lines underneath the flying lines. And I just happened to for efficiency's sake, I took out both the stooge lines and the flying lines at the same time, and I laid it down, and I inadvertently laid the flying lines under the stooge lines. That'll never, ever happen again.
Y'all say hi to Minnesota Mike. He just checked in.
Hey, Minnesota.
Hey, Minnesota Mike.
Says he just bought 10 diesel engines for $40.
Wow.
That's what Ken said too. Wow.
Sometimes you get on them wild ones and it works. You get some good deals. I can never seem to get on them.
When you're looking for engines on eBay and other auction sites, rather than restricting your search to the modeling section or wherever you think that's going to turn up, just do a wild search everywhere, and people will be selling stuff that they've got and have no clue what it is. And you will pick up some good deals that way, but it just takes more hunting and finding and cherry picking to get it. But
Yeah.
that's one strategy.
I usually don't spend the time doing that.
Yeah, me either.
That's on eBay.
Well, yeah, I don't buy much on eBay. I usually go to eBay stores that I'm familiar with, like Omni Models. But
Yeah.
as far as just regular unknown eBay sellers, I try not to buy from them. But if I'm looking for something like a tap, a 3mm tap or something like that, then I don't worry as much about it. But
I'll go all over the place.
Charles, I was showing these guys my Venturis.
Oh, that's nice. Did you make that Venturi?
No, I made it fit the barrel, but I didn't. The rest of it was made. That was from Shutterman. And,
very nice.
I made it work, and then put the Super Tiger needle valve assembly in it.
What engine is that? I can't tell.
It's a 60 SR. It's one of the big snurl. These things here really have a good. They tractor really good. They got a good torque to them. It's like a long stroke, kind of like your Stalker. This SR really runs good.
Very, very nice.
Puts out some power. Then I got this other one. This one here is Magnum 45. This is what's in my son's Oriental and also my Smoothie that I was showing last week. But this is the needle valve assembly that's in it. And this is my son's engine.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, well, this is my son's engine, but this is the Fox needle valve assembly that's made for, with your feed tube coming in on this side where your needle valve adjustment is. So when you're upside down, you can run the muffler on this side and you're not in the way trying to get your finger burned, trying to adjust a needle valve.
Right.
Nice. These needle valve assemblies, I really like them. The only thing I don't like about them is they're really sensitive. Like just the littlest bit of turn will make a difference on your engine run. So, but they work pretty good. This one here was actually fit by a machinist, and I was afraid to ask him how much it even cost because he had to counter bore this side here for the screw to go in to hold it in. And then he had to machine it in here for the barrel to fit in this one too. And anyway, it's got a real steep taper coming in the inside.
Oh, yeah, I see that. Yeah. That's
speaking of machinists, we hadn't seen Chris Liggy around for the last couple of weeks. Wonder what he's up to.
I don't know, man.
I think I have a Magnum 45 Pro.
That engine, that's a good running engine, a good and smooth engine. It's just, it's just heavy. They're just heavy engines. They got a lot of metal on them.
They run fast too. High RPM.
Yeah, they do. They run some RPM. It'll run, if I remember, I'd like 11 or 12,000.
Yeah.
So you got to do what you did with your engine. You got to run a bigger prop and less pitch and, you know, slow your airplane down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Minnesota Mike says, old guys go into assisted living, flew free flight since the 30s. Who you talking about, Mike? Yeah. I'd hate to have to do that, but I guess it happens. Or to get old, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm not quite there. They could be dragging me off, kicking and screaming any day now.
We all got to get as much
Well,
flying
that's
as we
me
can.
too. You never
No
know.
kidding. You better
That's
get out
right.
there while you
That's
can.
right. Get as much flying as we can. That's my strategy too, Gerald. Absolutely.
I'm hoping to go flying tomorrow or Wednesday. We'll see how the wind. It was pretty windy here today, so I didn't go. Plus, I was feeling like crap, so I passed.
Mike says it's the guy he got the engines from.
Oh,
He must be downsizing. Man, that's kind of sad. I think people that have fun like us ought to get a pass on getting old.
Yeah.
You know,
wouldn't that be great? You don't have to pass 40.
another go around.
Yeah.
Have any of you guys run diesel engines?
Yeah, I've run lots of diesels. Little, everything from the little DC Sabres and Merlins and Spitfires up to the PAW 19s are the ones I used a lot of.
Yeah, that's why you were mixing diesel
run a lot
fuels.
of diesels.
Who did?
I know our English friends run a lot of diesels. That's very popular in the UK.
Huh.
Yeah,
I've never ever run one.
Oh, they're a lot of fun, but they're very different.
Are they like a lot of maintenance to them, and hard to run, or just it's a dream, you know?
Different.
They're different. People will say they make more torque, but I don't believe they make a whole lot more torque than a modern Schnurl engine. And
Well, they'll swing a bigger
they last longer. But the only thing that they're very sensitive is wear. If they've got a lot of wear on your diesel engine, you can't get a good start. If they lose their compression just flicking it, then you just don't get enough compression up to get the thing self-igniting.
Yeah.
So they've got to have a good fit on the old engines, like the old Amcos. They used to say when it was worn out for diesel, put a glow plug in it. They sold the glow plug head and run out of the glow. And that sort of indicates, it still worked as a glow, but as a diesel, it didn't have enough compression left to run when it was worn out. But the diesels are a lot of fun, but you've got a bit of fun mixing the fuels, getting the right ingredients, getting ethers hard now, and getting amyl nitrate as a diesel ignition improver to stop it sort of pinging too much. That can be difficult, but a lot of people use a additive they use in large diesel trucks, a diesel ignition improver, and I'm using that now.
Well, I guess if you fall asleep while you're using the ether, you can sniff a little amyl nitrate and wake yourself back up.
Will they run like the same RPM as, say, for instance, you have a diesel, this engine on this side, and right beside it's the same thing but a different head with a glow plug in it? Did they run pretty compatible together?
Well, the main thing with the diesel, it'll use less fuel, and it will pull a pretty good sized prop. Like a 10cc diesel will routinely pull like a 13.6 or 14.6 prop with no trouble. But they don't necessarily make the same horsepower unless you've got a very high performance one. A lot of the sports diesels they sell for RC flying, like the Irvine 40 diesel was a common one. People use them for stunt.
So the main answer to that, I guess, it swings a bigger prop at a lower RPM, but pushes the same amount of air, I suppose, all in all.
Uses a little less fuel. I've got some interesting diesels. I'll grab them out of the cupboard and show you.
Mike says John Deere sells the best ether, but Ken Colbert says any race shop will have it. Mike is of the contention that they are torqueier.
Yeah,
The diesel has more torque,
yeah, a bit like a truck engine or something. We've got that tractor-like torque that we like to stunt. That's a little Anco diesel, very early diesel from the very early 50s still in its box.
It's got a long
And
shaft on it.
yeah, it's got a very long shaft. It's a plain bearing one. It's a very, very early engine, that one made in England. And then these I bought off eBay. It's a PAW 40 Stunt diesel. And I was keen to try one. And
That's a
that's
nice
pretty
looking engine.
Wow, nice and shiny new.
yeah, and they were especially set up for stunt. Tony Alflander that makes them
Wow.
flew them and stunt. And there's a number of flyers that were really keen on their diesels. But yeah, they did a 60 version as well, but I think the 40 was a lighter, more with a better power to weight ratio than the 60, because the 40
Now,
was probably the most popular one.
you've got an adjustment on your plug there. What does that actually do?
You increase your compression normally to start it. Once you've got a start out of them, you let them warm up. And then once they're running warm, then you can normally back the ignition off, you back your compression off until you start to have misfire and then increase the compression a little bit. But they're both 40 size stunt diesels, both specifically set up for stunt. So I was quite keen to, one needs a new rod, they've both been bought second hand, one was new, but the other one's done a bit of running. So I was quite keen to set them up as a pair of stunt engines, have one as a backup. So yeah, they're just very different to running a glow. They take a lot of that to develop the technique to start them. You've got to whack them a lot more when you start them, put a lot more energy in them. And some people say you shouldn't.
And then balance compression with needles, fuel flow.
Yeah.
Do you have an airplane in mind for those, Gerald?
Well, to be honest, I wanted to build a Typhoon. My father bought me the plan for a stunter. I can't remember. He bought it from Papa Lee on eBay. The plan for me for a Hawker Tempest. So I wanted to build an English plane and put an English diesel in it. So like I think it was about the 600 square inch semi-scale stunter.
Wow.
But the other thing I've been trying to do is set up a motor and run an ignition motor, because I've never run ignition before. So I was building a Viking, and I've been working away on that. So just as another point of difference, I wanted to run an Atwood Champion. So I've got a Viking that I'm just working on the wings right now, and I've got to get an ignition coil, and I'm quite keen to run an ignition. There was an American chap that moved out to New Zealand about 20 years ago, Terry O'Mara, and he used to fly stunt in the States, and he ran a Madewell 49 on a Chief, and it was quite impressive. I was quite keen to duplicate what he did, but using an Atwood and the Brodek Viking.
Wow.
So it's just another difference, like running a diesel. It's a different challenge, and you just want to have the challenge of running an ignition.
I've got a good flying buddy that runs a lot of really old engines and a lot of spark plug engines. And he enjoys amazing us with the things he shows up. When he opens his car up, there's no telling what'll come out of it. He's been building planes since the 40s, and I don't think he ever wrecks them, because he sure does have a lot of old ones. That's Bob Zambelli.
Oh, Bob. Hey, Gerald, how do you set up your voltage for your ignition on them? Do you have to run it through a capacitor and all that, or how does that work?
In the past, I'd use a couple of D cells or C cells. I'd use just 2 dry cells. Nowadays, most people are using 1 LiPo, or they're using 3 alkaline, or 3 nickel metal hydride batteries. And they're using normally a 3.6 volt coil. And from what I understand, a lot of people are still using the points, but using it to trigger a transistorized ignition. And there's a number of places that are supplying a transistorized circuit. Otherwise, you can make it up yourself with the basic componentry you can get from an electronics store. And it just takes the load off the points. And if the points get a little bit oily or greasy, it will still run. And doesn't sound like it's too hard, but I haven't finished my model. I've still got to get a coil. My brother is quite keen to run an ignition model as well, and he's got a few different old ignition motors, Olsons and super cyclones and things.
Huh.
But
Otherwise, it's just about like a car. It's got a coil, a capacitor, and a power supply and ignition points. You know, same old thing.
Same thing.
Yep, and you can rotate it around to change the ignition timing.
Yeah, if you're running
run ignition, Daryl?
For me?
Yeah. Have you ever run any other than on your big airplanes?
No, I have just gasoline with 2 strokes, but not the old ignition engines. No.
What you sitting in front of, Daryl? You got a big old bike up there.
I'm working on one of my Harleys.
Yeah.
When I have service on the primary drive. I got to, I had to give the clutch a naphtha bath. It's a dry clutch, and after a while, you get oil on it. So you got to get in there with the naphtha, have to take them all out and get the oil out of the friction plate.
So do you have to change your friction plates, or can you just clean them with a carburetor cleaner or something?
I just clean them in naphtha, soak them in naphtha, and I get some clean.
By naphtha, do you mean something like Coleman fuel?
Exactly, yeah. That's exactly what it is. Coleman fuel is naphtha.
I've heard different people call different things naphtha, though. What about like Ronson lighter fluid? I've heard that called naphtha, but that is not the same thing as Coleman fuel. That's more like kerosene.
That's different stuff altogether.
Is it a different grade of the same chemical? A different refinement?
It's a hydrocarbon, but it's I think it's actually heavier.
Yeah, I think so. I agree.
More towards kerosene than.
Right. That's what it reminds me of.
You know, speaking of these solvents, I read an article some time ago about this guy who would clean his glow plugs, and I can't remember what solvent he used. Has anybody heard of a solvent they use to clean glow plugs to bring them back to life?
Boy, I don't know. I don't have them. I throw them, put new ones in too often.
I think that's a dream. If it needs bringing back to life, then that means it needs the platinum back on the coil, unless it's been occluded by some kind of a impurity that deposited a film on it. But then I don't know. It would have to depend on what the deposit is and what kind of solvent it would react with. So who knows?
You know, we use carburetor cleaner on spark plugs, but never try cleaning glow plugs. Normally, it looks like oxidization is formed on the glow plug element, and I would just presume at that point you can't clean it, you biff it.
Yeah, sometimes they get a white film on them.
Yeah, they sort of look fairy, like it's an aluminium oxide, but no, it wouldn't be aluminium.
Yeah, frosty, like that.
Yeah.
In fact, I had some glow plugs for an entire, this is in my half A, I had every glow plug I used with this quart of Sig fuel turned white and quit working, and it would light up as bright as ever with the battery, but it wouldn't run. And if I blasted it with brake parts cleaner, I could get a couple of flights out of it, and then it would quit again. So I don't know what that could have been.
So the one cure for an old glow plug, not the new one.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, don't throw the old ones back in your flight box. Throw them away.
Yeah, I got one out the other day out of my box. My son bought a card of 4, and I unfolded it and looked at it, and he bought all shorts. It's like, I've only got a couple of engines that run on a short glow plug, and none of them's what these big ones use, these big engines. You know, so I got to ask him what he was thinking when he bought short glow plugs.
What kind were they? Do you know the brand?
They're Fox glow plugs.
Are they?
Yeah, but you know, I always run the long fuel, you know, plugs, because these big engines, that's what they require.
Some of the small engines, and I use the shorts, but
yeah, it'll run with a short, but I just soon put the long one in there, what's supposed to be in there. But yeah, you can get by with a short.
There's some of the engines that are the small engines that take shorts. You put a long one in
Yeah.
there.
I think the 19, if I remember right, I got a 19 that takes the short.
I use
And all the
the
15s that I got there are shorts.
I use
What's
the
that?
Enya 3 plug. Would that be considered short? It's a hot plug. Would that be
That's a
considered short?
four-stroke glow plug, and it's long.
Yeah, some of the OS ones are medium length. I think they developed a different length plug to most of the other manufacturers, and it was more important with their four-strokes. There's some funny reasoning there, but most of the Foxes are short or long, whereas the Enyas, I think, in the OSs tend to be a slightly shorter length. Their longs are shorter length than the American plugs, like the KMB plugs as well.
Lately, my favorite plug for my 40 size engines has been the Thunderbolt long, and some come with a idle bar and some don't. I thought I was ordering the same thing, but now I've got both, but I can't tell any difference in the way they run. I don't know why you would need an idle bar. I guess maybe inverted engines need an idle bar to help keep the coil dry.
I've run them, but I don't see any difference either, even on an inverted engine.
Maybe it keeps the coil dry better, but
I don't know. I've never had a problem with them.
The idle bar is supposed to help literally with the idle at lower.
Yeah, it's supposed to keep it hot during the idle.
yeah,
It keeps from flooding the plug, eh?
right. Yeah, especially I guess if you're doing outside maneuvers, the G-forces can force gas down the bypasses if you've got less than perfect compression. That's just me making that up. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't do enough airplane running like some of those pros do to know all the differences in all that stuff.
Yeah. Now, some of the guys on Stunt Hangar have good, legitimate knowledge about all this stuff and aren't just guessing like I'm doing.
I'm out in the outfield on that one.
When I say something, if I'm guessing, I try to qualify it and let you know I'm guessing rather than stating it as fact, though. But, I'm pretty intuitive with engines. I've always been an engine lover, so I believe a lot of stuff to be true when I say it, but I also haven't had it proven, so I'll qualify that when I say it, too. Minnesota Mike says that brake parts cleaner is toxic when under fire. I guess when he means it's being burned off. I didn't know that. I've always wondered what brake parts cleaner is. I always figured it was just ether and maybe some other kind of solvent like carb cleaner. I don't know. I know one thing. I don't know how I ever lived without brake parts cleaner before it came out. You can flat do some cleaning, but the price is going up real fast. It used to be really inexpensive. Now it's getting really ridiculously.
Well, the thing is
kerosene spray bottle.
We used to have really good solvents, and then the EPA came around, and that good solvent slowly went away.
Yeah.
Mike seems to get better life out of a idle bar plug than you do with a open bottom plug. So
that's good to know.
Well, these are a set of these are Enya number 3.
That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, and it seems like it's a medium length plug, the Enya number 3, the old KMB bar one.
Yeah, I didn't think it was.
What's your KMB one there?
And then that's an OSF, the 4-stroke plug, and then it's a standard Fox plug, the Fox long reach, and the Fox and the KMB are definitely longer. They're a longer plug.
I've heard a lot of bad things about Fox plugs. Hey Terry. Terry Forbes in the house.
Hi, Terry.
Hey, Terry.
Hey, how are you? Sorry I'm late.
That's okay. I was late as usual. I think I hit my usual 9:40 getting on. I aimed for 9:30.
My wife, God bless her, she's the one that's still working. I'm more or less retired, so So I take care of her until she goes to bed.
Yeah.
You're a good man.
I had to stop eating my ribeye steak and salad early tonight so I could get on here on time. So now I guess I got a piece of steak for some steak and scrambled eggs for breakfast in the morning.
That sounds good.
That's always a good day to kick
Sounds
off
good.
a day. You can kick off a day real well with steak and eggs.
Yeah.
I'm with you, man.
Yeah, Terry, we've been talking over some glow plug stuff. What's your experience with glow plugs?
Well, I've got a pretty good collection of glow plugs. I don't know. You know, for flying control line, basically all that I had was long or short and hot, medium or cold. And then I got into RC and everything was idle bars. And I actually put a idle bar plug in one of my Fox 35s. I was home from for college, and it was cold as shit in Wisconsin. You know, I think it was about 8, and I had a friend with me who was from Nova Scotia, and he saw the airplanes in my room, and he says, "You think we can go fly one of those?" Well, we couldn't get it started until I just as a last resort, it would start like running, and it just wouldn't. The glow plug with the air that it was breathing couldn't stay lit. Okay.
I got a trick for that.
Well, I put the idle bar plug on. It ran perfect.
Oh, really?
Well,
Yeah.
I know one thing you can do is wrap yarn through the between the fins, cooling fins on the head.
Oh, yeah.
And, that'll keep it from getting too cold while it's flying.
But the thing is, it wouldn't sustain a run because the air that it was intaking through the venturi was too cold. You know, when it was getting up to the cylinder, it was cooling the glow plug down.
Yeah.
It, you know, like on a lot of my older RC stuff, I mean, like if you spend all this time building and fiberglassing, you know, a fairly decent plane, I don't care if it's even a 60 powered top flight Mustang, which I built a bunch of those nice airplanes. But I put onboard glow systems. You know, cheap insurance, man.
so what is that? A battery powered setup where you just have power all the time?
Well, no, it's not all the time, but you can adjust it. The earlier setups were adjusted just through the throttle range. So when you're like getting to idle, or when you're going from idle to full speed, you have it light.
Yeah. Yeah, because you can't keep it lit the whole time, or else it will screw with your ignition timing.
Correct.
Because it needs to heat up and cool down along with fuel flow. And if you keep artificially lit too hot all the time, it'll, you know,
it's not. Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Hey, listen, I darn it, I wanted to, you know, good old Sparky, man. You know, I've watched all of his videos and stuff, and he doesn't take compliments very well. But the best part, you know, the part of the videos that I like from his last things this weekend, and even the live stuff, like I don't get to watch it live because, you know, I've got, you know, obligations, but I watch it later on YouTube, and I like when he shows the lineup of the planes.
I do too.
And
so do I.
You know what? His XL, that was the best one there, bar none. That was the neatest looking plane there.
It's a fantastic looking plane.
It just looked
pretty.
Beautiful, just beautiful. And anyway,
look, there's some excellent builders on that row.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
You know,
My
I love it.
my buddy Wayne was doing appearance judging at Brodak one year, and one of Sparky's planes was in the lineup. I don't know which one now. I hope Sparky's not going to hear me say this. He probably will, but it had beard hair stuck in the paint.
I love it.
Probably his goatee. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
I'm sorry, Sparky.
I'm sure you'll appreciate it.
If I don't show up on Friday night, it might be because Sparky cut me loose.
He's hunting you down.
Sent me packing.
Wow.
Hey, Steve, what's up?
Hey, how's it going? Did I mess up
Good, man.
this thing, or is it my computer or whatever that it keeps breaking up?
Yeah, you're breaking up again.
You look basically all right.
Well, it's the sound.
You're pretty dark.
Yeah, it's the sound.
He was
guys
doing
are getting
real
it from
good last
anyone
week.
else, but
Yeah, last week it was real good.
yeah, I'll try to. Yeah, I think I'll try to get a connection again here real quick and see if it works better. I'll try it off my phone.
If that
Yeah, I
doesn't,
can hear you real
try
clear.
lowering your bandwidth a little bit too.
Yeah.
Well, I got to take a break and go out and get my dog.
What
All
kind
right,
of dog do you have?
I've got a
All right.
yellow Labrador.
Oh, I love them. Yeah, I'm a dog guy. Like, I'm in between dogs right now, but just temporarily.
Yeah, she's a little runt. She's been a pretty good dog.
Yeah.
She's only
Anyway,
2.
guys, I'm gonna
Yeah.
sign out and go for a test ride here.
Okay, well, have fun.
Gonna go eat some bugs. I'll talk to
Yeah,
you
have
later.
fun, man.
Be careful out there.
All right, take it
I
easy.
will. I'll
Carol.
keep the rubber side down. Ciao.
Ciao.
Bye.
Hey, Daryl.
And watch the somebody keep an eye on Charles's yawns there for me.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll count them. You want me to tally them up?
Yeah, just don't let them fall asleep on you. Right?
I know. I am actually sleepy tonight. I actually am sleepy.
Again?
Yeah, again.
Okay, you guys have a good night. Eh?
All right, man. See ya.
All right, good night, Daryl.
All I can say, I live in hurricane country, and I've been through a bunch of them, and I'm glad I'm not swimming tonight. God bless those people in Texas, man.
What is the status of the storm down there tonight?
Well, I, being an aviation major, I had to take meteorology, and the definition of weather is the unpredictable elements of nature.
Mm-hmm.
That's weather. And I think the part that you need to stress on is the first part, unpredictable.
Yeah.
You know, they can do all these spaghetti models and all this stuff. And believe me, guys, you don't want to go there with me right now. You do not want to go down that rabbit hole with me. Because I'll just say it now, because Sparky will probably ban me, but you'll have to talk to me separate and whatever. But I have been a flat earth believer since the age of 8. And I'll tell you 3 things that I know. It's flat, it doesn't spin, and there's a dome. Okay, that's all I'm saying. So,
Okay.
I got my 402 over here, the shark. Who was building the shark last episode? I know somebody was building.
I think James was.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's who it was. Yeah.
The Shark 402? The small
Yes.
shark, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I got that 36 evolution going on it.
Oh, is that a Shark 35?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a Shark 35 and a Shark 45. Shark 45 usually has a 60 in it.
Yeah, this doesn't have a 60. This is for the 35, and I'm putting that Evolution 36 in it with a 3-blade.
Yeah, Shark 35 is a good flying plane. I'd love to have one myself.
Yeah. I don't like the
those.
landing
Those are
gear.
good looking planes.
You know, like I changed the landing gear out. I don't like that single knee wheel thing.
You like the tri-gears? You like tricycle landing gears? You don't like that?
On a RC plane, but I've never tried one on a control line. I mean, I'm open to try one.
The advantage with a control line plane, you can do a great takeoff.
Oh yeah,
with a tricycle gear, and then your landings are also very good, nice. I mean, they're also very nice, also.
Yeah.
Different approach.
Well, I just, you know, I like to fly a lot of.
Right,
oh yeah, let's see.
I like the tricycle undercarriage. It's my Cobra.
Nice. Yeah, it's Air Cobra, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful.
For laps, it's a lot of fun. It's got 2-line control, but it's got signal down the lines to control the throttle. It's Fox 29 is the throttle.
Wow, very cool.
It's a lot of fun. I'd like to build a bigger Cobra, but once you're 6 feet. But yeah, the tricycle undercarriage is really neat. There's a guy that flies one here in New Zealand. It's a Fletcher crop duster with the tricycle undercarriage, and it just has really good ground performance. Yeah, he just goes round and round and round in circles. He can land on the ground and take off again perfectly. And for a stunter, it'd be a bonus as well.
Wow.
As far as the stunt pattern, it says you can roll at least 15 feet, but no more than a quarter of the circle. So with the tri-gear, you can actually max that out.
I got the longest rolling takeoff I've ever done before on Saturday with the P40. I just I decided to let the lines go slack and let it roll, and it took off, and not completely slack, but just as loose as I could hold it without applying any input, and it rolled almost a quarter of a lap and just eased off the ground, and I was able to hold it down all the way around. That's probably the best takeoff I've ever done.
Wow, that's nice.
Yeah, I've flown those P40s. My friend has 2 of them, and I was so impressed just watching him take off and land. Definitely, they had that gear position absolutely dialed in correctly.
Yeah, it's short though. Yeah, I got a 12-inch prop on it, and I couldn't fly it in the grass.
They are short.
I'd usually maiden in the grass, but with a 12-inch prop, I would have been mowing a stripe if I'd tried that. So I put it on the pavement, flew on the paved circle. And
did you try that? Oh, sorry, Rusty, did you get to try the 3-blade prop on it yet, or not yet?
I couldn't understand what. Say it again, Gerald.
Oh, sorry. You were going to try a 3-blade prop on it, I believe. Did you get to try a 3-blade prop on it?
Oh, I have one. I bought it at the hobby shop on the way to Huntersville, and I bought a 12.6, and then yesterday I cut it down and balanced it to an 11-inch, which should cross over and be a good replacement for the 12. And it weighs about the same thing, so that'll give me some more ground clearance too. But I'm not going to try it until I get the plane fully trimmed, and I know I can fly a contest pattern with it, and then I'll try the 3-blade prop and see if it's close enough or if it needs any changes. But I got a master air screw, so I went up.
Yeah, that's what I got. I love them.
I went up 2 numbers in pitch rather than 1, because I always hear that master air screws are underpitched slightly. So I got a 12.6 and cut it down to 11. Normally, you'd replace a 12.4 2-blade with an 11.5 3-blade, but I went ahead and went with the 11.6.
It'll be interesting to see how it goes.
Than too little.
Do you know how to tell which props work? The ones that are out of stock. Oh.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's a good one.
My favorite prop for all of my,
I've been looking for 6 pits, but I did get one.
My favorite prop for all of my 40s is the APC 10.5, 4.5.
Yeah.
The FP40. And it worked well on my FP35 too, although a lot of people told me it was too much prop for it. but it worked fine.
Did your Tornado have the very narrow blades as well, like that one?
Yes,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
exactly what it looks
That's
like.
it. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, because in the past I've used the Tornado ones, and they've got a nice wide blade. So
Mhm.
I wasn't really sure how it would go. I never tried it out, but I bought it because I wanted the extra pop clearance. So I'll have to give it a go.
I use the GF series for my half A's, and that's the 6-inch props, and I cut them down to 5, 5 1/4, 5 1/2,
Yep.
and they have changed the width of their blades. They used to be wider, and now they're narrower. And I don't know how much difference that makes.
I stockpiled a lot of props in the past, and a lot of them are these big old wide blade Tornadoes, and I'm so used to using them. They're very forgiving.
That brings back
We
memories.
got a new Michael Miller just joined us.
Hey,
Michael.
Mike.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, Mike.
Good
What I'm
evening.
talking about? Now, see, I haven't been getting on lately, trying to do homework.
We got seven guys live and 11 viewers over on the other side, so pretty good crowd tonight. And
Hey, I
we've
like the
also-
sound of those wood props, boy. I love those older wide blade, you know, where they really thin them at the tips. They really make a good sound. You know, like during pull-ups and things, you know, that meow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, carbon, you really don't get the same harmonics with carbon.
Interesting. Hey, you're right.
Anyway.
Well, the scary thing with carbon is flicking them with your hand. Some of the
Quite a few
ones.
Now, most props will, you know, pitch in and out with a little flexibility, but the carbon props do not. Am I right about that? They stay stiff.
Yeah, until you, like, if you thin them too much, they will bend.
Yeah.
Ask me how I know that. You know,
You ever had one
you don't know how far you can go until you go too far.
Yeah.
Have you had one come apart?
Oh, absolutely. Well, not come apart, but
Delaminate.
the tip, yeah, well, the tip sort of warped out of shape. It started bending, and it wasn't on a control line. Yeah, well, it was getting harmonics or something into it, and it was on a RC plane, so I just backed out of it. And when it landed, the blade was actually warm at the end and starting to stretch out.
Wow.
Because, you know, like from bending it back and forth real quick.
Yeah.
You know, it was generating heat
Huh.
within itself. Anyway, a dangerous situation, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But I landed it quickly. I, you know, chopped the power and brought it in. Anyway.
Yeah, I like carbon fiber props. I just don't like the price. And I like
well,
repitching.
you know, they're real consistent though. Like if you do like the 3 blades, those master air screws, they're very consistent. Just don't try to hand prop it without like a chicken stick or something on your finger. Or,
yeah, I used to hand prop everything, and now I finally switched over to a chicken stick.
Yeah, those carbons are too sharp.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I put a rubber hose on my finger.
Yeah.
That's how I do it.
When I finally get done with that Spitfire, I'm definitely not doing anything but chicken stick, because I'm still going where Starkey doesn't think's a good idea. I'm going to run an APC 9.6 4-blade, because that's what a Spitfire is supposed to have.
Yeah, that or a 3. Depends on the airplane, I guess.
We'll see what it does, because I'm now going to use an LA-40 in that, not the...
Well, you know, depending upon what Spitfire you choose, they had everything from 2-blade to 5-blade.
Yeah,
this one's supposed to be a Mark 8.
Oh yeah.
Griffin engine.
Stop that.
I'm trying.
It's all right, man.
That's hard not to.
I don't want to drink any coffee because then I can't go to sleep. So.
I know how that works too.
Yeah, this one's got the APC prop on it. They're quite nice. I like those APCs. With the Enya 60.
Oh, that's a nice looking motor.
What is that?
Some of the APCs have a little bit of a scimitar shape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What motor is that, General?
It's a Enya 7032, the Enya 60, early Enya 60. Sometimes they call it a Mark II. That one's the Mark III. The Mark III's got the taller head fins and slightly heavier case.
Okay.
And I was going to swap it over on my stunter, but I can't, on my muck around stunter of using the Mark II, but it's getting harder to start, and I thought I'd put on a Mark III and give it a try. But the problem is the shaft's so short on them, and the Mark II has a habit of backfiring and running backwards. The funny shaft timing. The Mark III's got more normal shaft timing, and they don't have that habit of trying to run backwards, which is very unusual for a 60. So I'll give the Mark III a try instead. But yeah, the short prop shaft length on them is a bit of a problem, and you have to get those extended prop nuts so you can put a spinner on it. Because I like to start it with an electric starter, but last time I did that with this one, I put the electric starter on it, and my son grabbed the electric starter collar on an angle and proceeded to pull the nose off the plane.
Wow.
I can see that had happened.
Yeah, but yeah, I did that on my other profile up on the wall. I was using the electric starter on it, trying to get both motors started, and I ripped one of the motors off that as well. And that's where the electric starters can be very unforgiving if it's flooded.
I've got a couple of engines that make me use the electric starter, but most of them I still hand flip with the chicken stick pretty easy. I got a busted tendon that in my elbow and upper arm, and so a lot of my rotational strength of moving in that direction's been lost, and it gives me a little trouble starting a obstinate engine. But I'm gradually getting that strength back. So, and if flying a LA-46, that's, anybody, grandma can start that. So,
those are a really good motor. That's all I can say. But
Yeah,
I
they
use an
are.
electric starter. I use an electric starter.
I carry one with me in case I need it, but I
Yeah.
usually don't.
Like if I'm just doing like hot pitting it and refueling it and getting a drink of water and firing it up again, I a lot of times don't even grab the electric starter. It'll just prime it and hook it up, and you hear the sizzle, and one flip and off she goes.
Is electric starter legal in racing, like Foxburg, that sort of thing?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Probably.
I
Usually
saw a
not.
video on that Fox 35
really,
racing.
Steve?
Yeah, Brodak, you can't use the starter.
Yeah, I would think that's probably fair.
They changed the rules here when they brought in the electric motors. They said you shouldn't have that advantage with your electric motor, so you're allowed an electric start. There's actually all the classes here in New Zealand.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
And you're also allowed to use a timer on your glow engine as well, because again, the electric motors have got timers, so you can just put a massive 10-ounce tank in and set your timer if you wanted to. But yeah, the electrics have changed it a bit in that sense.
Yeah.
This is how I think I may not be in that much trouble overloading the engine. That's a 10.6 4-blade, and it's extremely narrow.
Yeah, you'd be all right.
Blade.
It probably has to be narrow not to overload the engine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that should be turning up close to a 12.6 then.
Yeah.
Extra blade adds an inch.
Really? Okay. I didn't. I knew that you made that rule of thumb between 3-blade and 2-blade, but I didn't know it carried 4 with the same rule of thumb for the however many extra blades you have.
Yeah,
that's nice to know.
Like on that Rojet 76 and stuff, a lot of them are running 13-inch 4 blades because they just can't have ground clearance for a 14-inch prop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did P40s and real P40s used? I guess they used 3 blades. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. We've got one at our local museum Auckland, the P40, and it was very distinctive little plane with its three-blade prop, but it didn't have the big horsepower that a Corsair or Hellcat had that needed the four-blade.
Right.
Blade, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that had the old Allison motor in it.
Yeah, there in
That
Kalamazoo
was
we
the
have
old
a
Allison motor.
pink P40 Warhawk.
Good Lord.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
Oh, you know what? We've got a airport almost next door to our field at Huntersville, and there are all sorts of eclectic planes over there. You see Texans fly over and all kinds of, you never know what you're going to see. But this past Saturday, we saw a 5/8 scale P-51 Mustang made a couple of passes over the field, and they fly pretty low over the field. In fact, one of the RC guys, they had a lot of RC guys over there on their side Saturday, and one of them had a near miss with a full-size Cessna and wrecked his plane getting away from it. He panicked getting away. He did get away, but then he lost his control when he pulled up instead of down, because after he escaped the path of the Cessna, he was inverted and accidentally pushed it down straight into the ground and ruined it. He was pissed too, but
It's called dumb thumbs.
But that guy in the Cessna should not have been flying that low over the RC field.
Hey, speaking of airplanes, I got something interested, especially for you, Terry. You familiar with Voodoo, the P-51 Reno racer?
Yes. Yeah, I follow.
Did they break the record? Did they do it today?
No, they didn't. That airplane is all white with aircraft. I'm trying to remember what
I wish I'd saved a picture of it. I had one yesterday.
Partners Incorporated. Yeah, they've rebuilt the wing to where it's more tapered going out and less drag, and that thing is just as slick. They've puttied up all the panel lines and
it's got some kind of
rivets,
turbulators. I think it's got turbulators on it too.
And anyway, they were going for the record yesterday, and the weather was bad, and they're actually up here, I think, in Chalice, Idaho, doing the run. They're
yeah, that's right.
They're going to. They tried it today, but Stephen Hinton flying it with his dad in the T-33 chase plane.
Yeah, chase plane.
They got all these new recorders and cameras and all this stuff on it. They're going to record it all live. Anyway, something went wrong, and anyway, Steve came in and landed. He landed pretty hot today too. I seen the landing. And anyway, they'll be going for it again tomorrow. It's really smoky up there. There's fires. And I was wondering if they was actually even going to try doing the run with all the smoke, but
yeah,
wow,
because it really showed a lot of smoke over. It looked like.
Are they having mechanical difficulties, or is it just weather related?
No, I don't know, to tell you the truth. But today, the way he landed hot, the way he did, I'm thinking it had something to do with some kind of a problem that they'll be working on.
Yeah.
You know, until they fix it, and then they'll be going for it tomorrow. So, you know, the record right now for piston prop airplane in the 3 kilometers, 528 miles an hour from Rare Bear. So they have to beat that by 1% to make it work, to make it happen.
Oh, I was thinking it was 505 or something like that, or 528.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm thinking they'll be up into the 560 range actually. So hopefully we'll find out tomorrow.
That record with Rare Bear stood a really long time, I think.
Yeah, you know, it was in 78, I think, the Red Bear and P-51. You know, they put the Griffin in that with a counter-rotating propeller. They were 499, and then that was in 79. And I think it was in 89 that Rare Bear went 528, and it's been the record since. And they're building a couple of airplanes that are actually just to run the speed course 3 kilometer to beat that record. Daryl Greenmeyer, I don't know if you're familiar with him.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He's building one out of a Sea Fury that it's all chopped up, and it's got actually a F-86 tail section on it. And they've taken the Sea Fury wing and the first section that's, you know, underneath the fuselage to the first dihedral part of the first part of the wing there, the first part, they've cut that out and shortened that up. So instead of whatever it is, 36 or 38 feet, now it'll probably only be, you know, 28 feet or 23 feet or something in there. I don't know what the total length is.
Yeah, that's that flat section of the wing on the Fury.
Yeah, the flat section.
Yeah.
And,
I'd
seen
love
that.
to see it, man. I've
seen that airplane. I've seen that airplane at Reno at the air races, and I walked by it, and I didn't know what the hell it was. And then later I get home and I see pictures of it, and he's talking about it, and they say, well, Daryl Greenmeyer wants to sell that because, you know, he went up into Greenland, I think it was, or Iceland, to get that B-29 out of there, and then then it burned up. So he had all his money invested in getting that out of there, out of all the ice and everything. It burned up. He lost all his money, so now he doesn't have money to go forward with that racer. But that was specifically going to be built and designed to beat that record. So now anybody tries it, they're going to have to be going super fast, because Voodoo, and there's no doubt about it, is a fast airplane. Strega is faster, but now that they've done all this work to Voodoo, it looks impressive. It really does. Look it up on the internet tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm going to try to find something on YouTube.
If you have, I don't know if you'll find anything on YouTube yet, but if
I'm a member of EAA and all that stuff too, so I can look on their websites. You know,
it's on Facebook.
I lost my computer, so I'm working off an iPhone and iPad.
Yeah,
but I've got a new one forthcoming.
Yeah, I've been watching them on Facebook. I've got a couple of guys that have been actually up there recording and stuff. I follow them, and anyway, that's how I'm getting the information.
Yeah,
but you know, I got my fingers crossed for tomorrow.
Oh, I hope they get it.
I do too.
The Sea Furies, I'm sure you guys know of the Christian Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Charlie Hillard was a member of the Christian Eagles. So he was a guy from Texas, Dallas, I think a Cadillac dealership owner.
Yeah.
Well, he had the Spirit of Texas, and I was up at Sun and Fun, and that was the year that I got my LOA from at Leeward Air Ranch up there. At any rate, nice people. I was just coming in from going and picking up a friend in a guy's 310 Cessna, and he had landed because his air show was on. And when the air show's on, you have to hold, you know what I mean, off of Lakeland. They have you holding. And then when the air show quits, they sneak you in. The air traffic controllers, believe me, they have one of the busiest airports in the world between Oshkosh and Lakeland during that 2-week period. At any rate, Charlie Hillard does his beautiful Sea Fury routine in the Spirit of Texas with tip smoke and red, white, and blue. And he's landing on the landing roll, and the brakes lock. It flips over, and he dies.
Yeah, you know, the first time I seen him fly was at the air races in 1975. And that's when he was flying with the Red Devils. That's when
well, that was the earlier one. Yeah, it was all the same guys, though.
Yeah, and then they went to the Christian Eagles. You know, Gene Soucy still flies that bi-wing.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, it's awesome stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really a bummer when I heard that Charlie died, and it was well, at that time they didn't know for sure what happened, and it was a freaky deal why the airplane would turn over upside down like that. But
so the brakes,
that's the only thing that could be really is the brakes.
Yeah.
I've been neglecting.
They saw the rubber marks. You know, there were rubber marks, and it flipped.
I've been neglecting our YouTube crowd. Jamie's out there. James Holford says, hey. And also Jim Ballard. Do y'all know Jim Ballard?
I don't think I've ever been.
I don't know him.
No, I don't know him.
Sounds familiar. I don't know if he's been on with us live or not, but Hi, Jim, if you're still out there. I think he is.
How's Jamie doing with all that rain and stuff there?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Isn't he down there in Texas?
He goes to Texas sometimes, but I don't think he lives where the storm is.
Yeah,
But
he goes down there for work.
So I think he's by Baton Rouge, isn't he?
Yeah, he's in Baton Rouge, but he's been
You know,
working in
that
Texas.
storm is feeding on itself, man. That storm is like feeding on its own moisture.
It just
Is
keeps
it
building
called?
and
Is
then
it
dropping
sitting
and building.
still?
And dropping.
It's like it's like pouring gasoline on a fire, man.
Yeah.
It's
It's not
all
moving
that
off
warm,
either, is it?
moist air. It's feeding on itself, and the Gulf is just a perfect crucible for this thing just to keep gaining strength and then coming back in to devastate more families and property.
Oh,
And so
you know what Jamie's doing right now?
Huh.
He's having a baby.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
wow, that's right.
Man,
Well, I'm giving him a little too much credit there. His wife is having a baby. He's the one that put it in there.
I love it.
Busy time.
He says he's all good with the weather, just a lot of rain and tornadoes. But if you call that good, I guess that's good as you get, huh?
Good.
But no baby yet, huh?
No baby yet.
Arthur Genre, Genre. Did I say that right, Arthur? He says he thinks Jamie lives in Lake Charles.
Oh, okay.
Do we know Arthur? Oh, Jamie says Lafayette. Yeah, he's guilty. Guilty of putting that baby in his wife. So now it's coming back out. Bigger, better, stronger.
Well, guys, my internet messed up again, so I'm getting back off. I can't hear nothing again.
All
Okay.
right.
Okay, Steve.
We'll
Well,
see
thanks
you,
for
Steve.
dropping in, man. We'll see
Yeah.
you later.
We'll see you.
It's kind of patchy tonight, too.
See you, man.
Yep. See you later, Steve.
See you later.
Bye.
Well, how's your school going, Mike?
Little by slowly, we're getting there, but me trying to learn statistics is a real challenge.
Oh, man, and I couldn't do
Oh,
that
man.
stuff.
Oh, Jim Ballard answered. He says, I'm a newbie to the live Hangouts, guys. He says he's in Texas.
Right on.
Hopefully not Houston.
Yeah.
Well, hang on, man.
Hopefully not on the coast.
Hang on. For you.
Howard lives in Houston or near there.
Hopefully he's all right.
He was on Friday night, and I asked him how the weather was. He said, well, it's all right. The wind's 100 miles an hour outside. But he had power and a good connection. So, and I commented that I don't see the tools on your hanging on your wall swinging back and forth. So, must be all right. He hung with us for a while, so he was getting through.
Yeah, I got a buddy.
Boy,
over
that's a
here
ride.
today, and he said he got 3 guys, buddies who he was working with down there, doing pipe projects. But anyway, they're still down there, and they was on a dock down there working, and the dock come loose and went out to sea, and they haven't seen those guys since.
Oh, my God.
They figure they just washed out to sea and they're gone.
Listen.
Wow.
Yeah, count me out.
Jamie says Howard had an inch of water in his house this morning.
Yeah. I think
I
that's the
believe
big
that.
deal down there with the thing going back out in the Gulf and intensifying and then coming back.
It's just kind of sitting in the same
Yeah,
area,
that's
right?
Well, there was one guy.
No, it's making
that
little orbits, kind of.
Yeah, I was reading one
around.
deal that they said some of them places that have water for 2 months before it's all dissipated.
Yeah.
Long time to clean up.
Imagine all them houses that are going to be shot by then, all them businesses. Wow.
Gerald, what's the worst weather in your part of the world?
We're
Tornadoes
not
or
quite
hurricanes?
Well, we don't really get hurricanes. We get the odd tornado, but the weather here is not normally as violent because it's a little bit. We're at a lower latitude. We're not down. We're not getting Arctic weather or Antarctic weather, but it's fairly moderate. It's fairly tropical, so we get flooding here, but nothing like we've got there in Texas. Nothing like that. I haven't seen anything to that extreme. But Yeah, it's really quiet here in terms of our weather. But actually, I might get going now anyway because I can't see the bus when the school bus comes with my boys. I'm in the modelling room, so I might say goodbye for now. Then I'll watch you on YouTube later when the boys are settled down when they're off to their tea.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll say goodnight. And
Yeah,
All right,
thanks,
Daryl.
enjoyed it.
Okay, good seeing you.
Okay. Okay, good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good
Good
night,
night.
man.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, what's up?
Not
Down
too
to the
much.
diehards again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you old guys.
Yeah, us old guys.
Tell you what, at least the VA finally did something for me.
Well,
Not
good.
this week, but I'm going to be starting physical therapy on my neck and my foot.
Oh, very good.
Good deal.
Hopefully, they can get my neck so it'll quit making my hands go numb.
Well, go as long as you
having that
can
problem,
without
too.
having it operated on because mine's been cut open 4 times. One time from my skull clear down into my shoulders,
Oh, jeez.
and 3 of them in the front. They said we'll never be able to go in the back again. So now I've had that one and 3 others in the front, and I got a big long plate in the front of my neck.
Yeah, I got
Ooh.
misaligned vertebra crushing my spinal cord in my neck too, so all the associated problems with that. That's what put me down last winter, but I'm not a candidate for surgery, not a 32-year dialysis patient with artificial heart parts and all the shit I've been through, so just whatever keeps me breathing without too much intrusion is my path. So
Yep.
just
Yeah,
hoping for the best.
Just keep chugging, man.
Do it until I can't anymore.
Yep.
Keep flying.
Yep. Keep
and
flying.
you'll,
Keep flying. Get
Yeah.
some
Keep
exercise
staying on.
and keep healthy.
you know,
Yeah.
people don't think it's
Keep
exercise.
nutrition.
Get out there and give it a try. You know.
Yeah. Go
I
give it
know.
a
Keeping my
try.
nutrition up is important too.
Absolutely. When I go flying all day, I come home and I'm exhausted.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, you watch some videos that Charles does, and it makes me tired just watching him. I mean,
Yeah.
he's moving in and out of that.
Will Davis videoed my second flight with the P-40 yesterday, but he hadn't posted it on YouTube yet. I'll show it to you.
So is that a profile ARF, the P-40?
That's right. It's a Brodak
Yeah.
Windy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Brodak profile ARF, and it was an amazingly high quality kit
Nice
too.
airplane. Nice airplane.
The fuselage was dead straight, not a twist or a bow in it, and the wing root fit just as perfectly as you could possibly expect. And so I'm impressed. The only thing I'm not impressed with is that they use 16th wire to go from the belt crank to the flap horn, and that's just stupid. And so I bought, knowing it was 256 wire or a number 2 wire, I bought 256 ball link. Well, 256 ball link, I find out after I start putting it together, has a 440 hole for connecting to the rod.
Mhm.
Well, that didn't do me a bit of good. So I'm going to cut it all back apart and just wire wrap and solder an L-bent piece of wire to it to put through the control horn, and
that should be
solder
fun.
it
And
down
just put a
forget
little spring keeper on it, and you're good to go.
Yeah, that'll work. And the wire that couples the flaps and the elevators together is so springy that you can take those and twist them in opposite directions from lock to lock, and it just goes boing right back to neutral. And I'm thinking, while it's flying, those things are probably just going like this. So I'm not sure if that is a good idea for a precision stunter or not.
Why don't you put a piece of carbon in there, like do a carbon rod to just back to a.
Yeah, well,
that's what I do. Put
soldered
a carbon
on
in there where you can
just an L bend.
I'm gonna have to cut it back apart. I've got some ideas, but I'm not going to tell you what they are until I do them, and because they might or might not work.
You do this
once in a while at Walmart or places, you'll see those kids' kites, like these dragon kites and eagle kites.
Yeah.
I wait to see them on sale and I buy one or two. I the
Those are
carbon rods and all the little couplers. All the Mylar stuff, I don't know, I just toss it.
Yeah.
But you're getting like $25 of hobby shop price for carbon fiber rods.
Yeah,
A lot
for
of
just
this
a
little
few
clean
bucks.
stuff, they don't even carry it.
Yeah.
White stuff is beautiful for control stuff. You
Yeah.
know, and I still support it with like a little eyelet or something. You know, I'll have to show you what I'm doing on my
You really don't
on
need to
my
support the long
twister.
rod because it won't bow. I got a pretty thin.
No, but you don't want it vibrating around or whatever. It's
Well,
good to
that's
give it a
true.
little support.
Yeah, that's true.
It's all
And Rusty,
artwork, guys. That's what my wife tells me.
Yeah, Charles.
You know, it's artwork.
what do you think about the
It
silhouette
is.
of the 40 when you're flying it? When you're from your handle view, is it a nice looking plane?
Yeah, you know, I really didn't concentrate on the aesthetics of it, but yeah, I didn't have any trouble seeing it against the trees. But on just like I only did 2 flights, but yeah, I like it. It's a great looking plane in the air.
Hey, most of my planes I fly are fantasy planes, you know, so they don't look like a real
Here,
plane.
can you see this?
But when I-
Right.
Can you see? Here, let's see.
Oh yeah,
I
I
don't
got
have this right.
You lock it in.
Yeah.
There we go.
This
All right.
is my this is the shark.
Can you hold it up higher?
It is.
Can you hold it up higher? There you go. All the row of pictures is in the way. Now we got it.
All right. Yeah, I'm sorry. So I've got carbon push rod on this.
That's about the
And
same
it's,
size rod I use. Yeah.
Yeah.
I use the stuff you can thread it for 440 and then put
Yeah.
those 440 adjusters in there.
And it I've used that on a couple
Yeah.
other planes, and that's the stuff from the kites. It's from those kites.
I'll have to watch for that.
I'm
That's
going to take a look at that.
yeah, that's a
And
good
if you're
idea.
real lucky, your neighbor's kids trash them and they put them in the garbage. Then you go get
Yeah.
it for free.
Yeah.
I've been known to go dumpster diving before.
Listen, I get them out of the trash whenever.
Yeah.
Whenever.
Yeah, why
I'm a
not?
shameless dumpster diver.
Hey, I've got a gas outrigger boat. I'll show it to you sometime. And the booms, the outrigger, the booms are really nice. And a guy said to me, "God, where did you get those booms?" I said, "I can't tell you. I don't live on the water. The water's across the street. So I live next to the wealthy people. These guys throw out golf clubs like
Oh,
you
crap.
guys, and I use toothpicks.
Oh,
So
good.
I had some Ping carbon fiber golf clubs. I cut them apart to get the shafts, and they telescoped and everything. And I've got this real beautiful hydro with the, you know, and they're polished, and you can see the, you know, the way the carbon is laid in there. I don't, you know, and it's a golf club shaft that some guy threw out.
Hey, I just remembered my son's got a 12-foot brim buster, telescoping brim buster. I might have to sneak
That's
that
got
off.
good stuff. Yeah, those crappie poles.
What is a
Listen,
rim buster? What is that?
it's a
It's
telescoping
it's like
crappie pole.
It's a 21st century cane pole
Yeah,
that telescopes.
they're
It's like a cane
neat.
pole, only it's carbon fiber or fiberglass or both.
Yeah, they're neat. Yep. Got to watch Wally World. You'll see them.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm gonna step away and refill my coffee. I'll be right back. Hopefully the you-know-whoers won't attack us while I'm gone.
Oh,
All
yeah.
right.
Yeah, they got us good last.
Yeah, and we had to cut off the rest of the movie after it started, and we had a great conversation about gyroscopic precession and P factor and all that.
Yeah,
And
sure.
right when I ask that question is where it goes blip and cuts off. So
Yep.
that's disappointing.
Yeah, there's always got to
You're
be
right.
somebody around that's going to try to ruin it for fun.
Yeah, it's fun for them, I guess, but whatever.
This here, I got to show it to you. I got this from my mom. she was having a yard sale the other day, and she was going to sell this thing. And my sister grabbed it and says,
Hey, what's
there ain't
going on
no
now?
way you're going to sell this. But can you see that?
Donald has. Ah.
This is from Japan that my dad got when he was actually stopped there when he was in Korea in the Korean War.
Wow.
And it's silk.
Oh,
And
wow.
anyway, I'm gonna have
Hey,
it.
I'm Air Cav, man.
I'm gonna have it.
I'm Air Cavalry.
Oh, for hell's sakes, my phone's going crazy. But anyway, I'm going to have it steamed and then rolled, and I'm going to actually frame this thing.
I agree. That thing's gorgeous.
That is nice.
Very nice.
It's my dad's unit back there in the, what was it, 52, I think it was. Yeah, it was 52. So this was his unit. He was in the motor pool. God.
Well, it's the cavalry, man, mobile.
Yeah.
You know.
So that's really
Yeah.
neat that I didn't know my mom even had this thing. And well, I'm glad my sister caught that.
You know, if you take it to a good frame shop, they could probably even take care of the sizing and the steaming for you.
Yeah, I'm going to do the framing. I can frame. See, my mom and dad owned a hobby shop.
Oh, that's what you said, yeah.
And I've learned how to frame and stuff.
Oh,
My
sure.
dad was doing that and did a lot of frames for the doctors and the lawyers and the big shots here in town. And although my dad really made a name for himself for doing frames. And then the reason why we got rid of the shop is he got colon cancer and
yeah, wow.
he got so sick from doing all of the operations and the chemotherapies that we decided to sell the store out. And then it was only a few years later, I told my mom, I said, we made a mistake. We should have kept that because now, well, by then I'd had a few back operations and I said, you know, I need to get out of this heavy construction stuff I'd been in. And that would have worked out really well for me, you know, and that was the purpose of starting it, is so if anybody in the family needed some kind of an income, if some hardship came to them, that this would be a way for them to do it, you know. And anyway, my brother and my sister-in-law actually bought into the store, bought into the shares because we were incorporated, and they ended up with the control, but they wanted to move back to Canada where my sister-in-law was actually raised. And so with everything that was going on at the time, we decided to sell out. And I just think, man, still to this day, we did the wrong thing, but you just don't know, you know, at the time you made the decision.
Hey, hindsight, man.
At the time.
Yeah, hindsight's 2020.
Yep.
Yep.
So, but well, I'll tell you what, we really had a nice business back in the 70s and early 80s there. And I learned a lot of stuff on modeling and, you know, like say this picture frame stuff. I've got some picture frames around here that I've done. They're pretty good. They're not my dad's work, but.
Well, I see them in your back wall and your matting looks good too.
Yeah, there's some pretty good ones. But
yep.
Yeah, that there, I got to get this steamed and rolled so I don't have any wrinkles in it, and then stretch it, and then I'll get some frame material and then cut. I've got a compound miter saw that cuts pretty good, and you know, so I can cut my 45s, and I've got a frame jig that I can set it up, you know, to do my 90s and hold the material so I can drill it and then set my nails and, you know, all the good stuff. The big thing here is going to be getting a piece of glass. Going to get some of that non-glare picture frame glass, and I'll set it to where the glass is about a 1/16 or so away from the material here, so it's not touching the material. Yeah, it'll be pretty neat when I get it done. So,
and do like a museum mount on the back with a, you know, a moisture barrier on the back.
Yeah, you'll have a moisture barrier on the back, so it'll all be sealed.
Yep, excellent. Well, you can frame for me anytime.
Right on. Right on. Yeah, I like doing that work. In fact, my dad, when he got really sick, wanted me to take over and do it. And I told my dad that, you know, at the time I was young enough, the only thing I was interested in was, well, I was interested in my family, but when it come to playing, you know, I worked and then I did overtime when I could. And other than that, I was playing, you know, most of that was hunting, fishing, or riding my dirt bikes. And I was just constantly on the go, you know, I never stopped long enough to, you know, and one summer I helped a guy run a machine shop. I was running a lathe and we would grind the crankshaft throws, you know, and the mains down. And then we'd send them off and have them chromed. And then when we get them back, I would grind them back to where they were standard size so where they could run a standard bearing back on them. And we was even having guys at the racetrack or the oval track requesting V8 cranks done like that. And I was grinding cranks for them. But, you know, I was working full time and doing that part time. And the guy that owned the shop, he wanted me to quit working where I was working for Bucyrus here. You've probably heard of them, the big steam shovels and, you know, drag lines and stuff. I was working for them, making good money, and I had the cat in the bag, you know. And well, anyway, I told this guy that I wasn't going to work for him and quit. But I'd learned enough on that machine work, running that lathe, to where I feel pretty good about doing machine work still this day. But the only problem is I don't have a lathe or a mill. Boy, if I had them both, you know, the little ones, I could really turn out some. I would buy airplane engines off eBay. I would set them up for. I would set them up for control line, and you wouldn't believe the guys that have done that. They're making a killing on control line engines doing it. Run tests on them and do a little video on them and put that in with it, and it makes you a little bit of money. But I just don't have the tooling to do it.
Yeah,
it'd be fun, you know. That's another hobby part of this airplane stuff, this engine stuff that I could really enjoy.
See, I love the motor part too. You know, I have moved to gas and ignition though for, I would say, most of my RC stuff. I still have a couple airplanes like a 40 sized Balsa USA stick model that I use for balloon cutting and limbos and all that, you know, fun fly stuff. Those are still nitro, but I really like those Sato ignition engines.
Yeah, I hear you.
You know, the 21cc. I just recently completed a Aeromaster from Alien Aircraft. It's kind of a takeoff on the Lou Andrews Aeromaster. I don't know if you remember that airplane.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Yeah. Just
well, I remember.
Anyway,
I remember
Trainer Master, Hobby Master,
yeah,
Sport Master, all Lou Andrews. The guy was a genius. He did all his own kit cutting. Had box lock construction. Lou Andrews.
Oh, Anders.
Yeah, Andrews.
Yeah, I can't think of it.
Yeah. Anyway, but I love the, you know, there's guys flying RC that are good pilots and good builders and all that, but they don't have a clue of what the forces are and what they feel like. Only in control line do you have a hard wire linkage.
That's right. That's
to
why
that airplane.
Yep.
You are actually holding a miniature stick that's connected to that airplane, ripping around that 70-foot radius circle at 93 miles an hour, and it's fun.
It is.
Yeah, right.
You know, and that's why I've stayed with control line all these years.
Me too.
You know,
that is fun.
Because it's that constant feel that you have the connection to the airplane.
Yeah.
You know, it's just that in your hand. You're controlling. Radio control's fun, but you just don't have that.
Yeah, I mean,
feel.
I love sailplanes and stuff, and you know, but man, You know, my wife says, "Why don't you do those contests like those other guys?" I go, "I don't know. I don't know. I fly just for. I fly like your son.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like a lone wolf
you speak about
freestyler.
You speak about the House of Balsa. Remember the P-51 kit they made was only about 30-inch wingspan?
That was an RC. It was a 15.
It was an RC. Yeah, it was an 15. RC airplane.
Yeah,
like I opened up that kit when my mom and dad got one to stock in their store, and I was going through that, and I went, that has got the best wood of any model I have ever opened up in my life. They put out some fantastic quality kits, man.
Yeah.
And then they don't last. It's just too bad.
Yeah. Well,
I forgot which company did you say produced
House of Balsa.
House of Balsa, yeah.
Yeah, House of Balsa.
Boy, they put out some fantastic kits back in the day.
Yeah, they had a little slope kit that was called a Ridge Runt. It was 60-inch little balsa wood box fuselage thing. And
I'll be back.
God, I don't know. I was building those for my two sons,
Who said that?
Charles.
Okay, see you later, Charles.
I'll be back.
So was the House of Balsa stuff die cut? When did lasers first appear?
No, they didn't have any laser. Some was die, and a lot of it was bandsaw cut.
Bandsaw cut. Wow.
Or bandsaw or router cut, because even like the Ridge Runt and the Ridge Rat came. The ribs were like rubber band together in a little plastic bag.
Yeah, and there's Midwest later on did that. They came out with some kits that were all bagged like that. And that wood was pretty nice too.
Yeah,
Man, I'll tell you, but all these companies, it seem like they get to where they're doing really good, don't make it,
Well, as a kid, being as I lived in southern Wisconsin, and I was into scouting and everything, fortunately, there were a lot of troops around, and you could look on your bulletin board. And although our troop had already been down the Carl Goldberg models, I went again. And then when I had a chance to go to Top Flight, I went with actually an older group of boys of scouts. They were Boy Scouts. There was only like 4 of us Cub Scouts. They were giving us the razz a little bit. It's all good. But we got down to Top Flight, and to see how the kits were made and stuff was really something. They were using like not even hydraulic presses. Some of them were just like old printing press type worm deals, It's crazy.
Yeah, that's one thing about my mom and dad. They having that business, they got to travel around and go to a lot of the conventions and go to these manufacturers and see a lot of this stuff. That was really good for them, but it was really a struggle for my dad when he got sick, and I was telling a buddy of mine just the other day, I says, you know what, I'm older than my dad right now when he died. He was 59. I'm older than my dad.
Wow. Yep.
I just looked back up the list, and let's see, who was it? Jim Ballard says he flew Quickie Rat, Fox Goldberg, and Speed. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's a cool class.
I know what Q40 is, because I got a friend that does it, but I don't know what Quickie and all that other stuff means.
Well,
all I know
Q and Quickie is kind of the same. Yeah.
You better have a lot of RPM motor.
Yeah, that's where I was messing with those props that came apart. Those flying the 40 pylon plane.
Yeah.
I love them. I always mention sometimes that I'm an engine lover from way back, and that sort of performance out of an engine is the stuff that really turns me on. And
it's incredible.
Doesn't show that, except for when I fly half A and I still don't have high end stuff, but I got an AME on a half A Gladiator, and I just love when it, you know.
Well, you know, you turn the corner and then it just like gets on the pipe and it just is like gone.
Yeah, I love that, and they just go screaming by, and the Doppler effect, and it amplifies it.
Yeah,
that's amazing to me.
I was never competitive because I would lose my airplane in the corner with other airplanes. I just, you know, my sons could do it. Huh?
Lose sight on it? Is that what you mean?
Well, no, it just on these on the Q40 RC pylon planes.
Yeah.
When your plane gets down to the corner, I would lose it with other planes, you know. So I just
with the
I
badge,
see it hit the corner, you know, it's yank and crank, you know, you roll the aileron and
you make the turn with the elevator, right?
Correct. Yeah. And I don't know, it's, you know, and they really can turn some RPMs, man. It is incredible.
Man. Yep.
And now they're even faster. You know,
it's, and the thing is now they have them fiberglass airplanes, you know, that the bodies and everything are all fiberglass, and
I was
those
doing
things are super smooth.
Stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well, they started coming out with those back in the day, but you know, they're, you know, I've got still a couple pretty neat ones, but there was, you know, like a couple class racers that were really good, like the Texas 500. It was just like you had to get, there were several guys that made the kits, including Corehouse. It was like a foam wing, rectangle fuselage plane. But boy, they hauled butt.
Yeah. You know what? I got a buddy now lives south of here that'll be here at my place Thursday, but they're racing these in that class to running electrics.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, he had one the other day. He said he flew his into the pylon pole and ruined it, you know. But there's so many guys going electric with that stuff that it's like all of our good engines are going bye-bye, you know.
Yeah, I was running the like OS 40 Schnurl, you know, and there's no, and it's a rear intake.
And they're doing 30,000 RPMs.
Yeah. And I had a Rossi carburetor. A friend put it on there for me with a bigger Venturi, and I was running a pipe, but you know, with a side exhaust. On the side.
They're all ball bearing engines, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they do
still got the motor.
Program.
It's a solid motor.
Yeah, it's amazing how many RPMs them things run. It just, you know, you have
to bench run it though. You got to put some fuel through it, bench running it.
You ever seen that video of the guy with the pylon racer that's practicing somewhere in apparently Eastern Europe, but he fuels the plane up and it's cold. I mean, they got like Eskimo clothes on, but after he fuels it up, he hooks up the glow igniter but doesn't turn the switch on, and then takes his electric starter and about that long, and then he turns the prop to compression, reaches down and hits the switch on the glow igniter, and that thing says whang, just takes off like that.
I've never seen it.
You know, the stunters all like to do the prop bounce, just take it, pull it off of compression, and then go boom, and it starts right up. And some of them can do it every damn time, but I can't do it to save my life.
You got to have a loose motor too, though. I mean, not that it doesn't have compression, but you've got to have let me say, a seasoned motor.
Yeah,
it doesn't have
one that'll let the inertia, one that doesn't resist the inertia swinging the prop around to get compression on the other side.
Yeah.
I think that's cool when he cranks it like that, though.
Yeah. You know, I guess because I'm 69, I remember when I first got into the control line and the motors, the older men, when I was a younger guy, really took care of their motors. Then in the late 50s, early 60s, maybe 62 on, if the motor doesn't run, just toss it in the box and grab another one. Man, you know, it seemed like guys weren't taking the time. You know, I would say to guy, "Hey, did you run any fuel through that K&B?" Nah. You know, just I don't know.
If they always run synthetic oil in those kind of machines,
I don't like my older motors. I use that. And I get it off eBay, and then our local hobby shop, the guy at Legends here, nice guy, he started carrying it. But it's that 50-50. It's got some caster in it.
Yeah, 50-50.
Yeah, I don't think I would try running a lot of my older Foxes. I've got a bunch of Fox 40s, as you do, coffin backs and the regular ones.
Yeah.
And,
yeah,
and
you know
the
what?
old OS Maxes and stuff, and I'm not going to take a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I run 1022 in those, but
Yeah.
forgive me, I kind of zoned out on the conversation there for a minute, but I was referring back to the pylon racing and those super high performance engines like that.
Yeah.
I was wondering if they used pure synthetic.
Well,
From
back
all
in
the
the day,
older
back
days.
in the 70s and 80s, as far as I know, they were just running castor.
Yeah,
It had
castor
to be
oil.
back then, I guess, because the metallurgy wasn't there for what we run now. So that was a dumb question, I suppose.
Well, not really. I think one of the first fuels that I started using that had some really serious synthetics that worked, and I guess he still makes fuel, is Byron's.
Byron's
Yeah,
fuels?
I hear good things about him. My friend Ken Cook from Stunt Hangar with the Philly Flyers likes Byron.
I've always had very good luck with that fuel.
Now, I might be thinking of Rich's Brew. I can't remember now, or maybe both. Are y'all familiar with Rich's Brew?
Yeah, I've heard of it. I haven't had any.
He makes custom blends. I think you call him and tell him what percentage of everything you want he makes.
Yeah, there's a guy down in Texas. I'll have to look him up. He was the same way. He mixes your brew pretty much to what you want.
It's not Fritz, is it?
I think it is
Fritz
Fritz.
Fuels, is it?
I think it is Fritz.
You know, he bought Glow Plug Boys.
Really?
When Mike, his name was Mike, when he died. I was sad.
I'm pretty sure it's Fritz. Yeah.
I was sad when he died. Because that was my number one half-A fuel, was the Glow Plug Boy from Mike. I can't remember his last name. But anyway.
I'll have to check.
There's custom blend.
There's a lot of half-A. There's a lot of fuels on the market that claim to be half-A that I don't have a whole lot of luck with. I mean, we get it to run, but
up until recently, and we at Cox Engine Forums got it changed. It was not compatible. The Cox Super Power Fuel was not compatible with Cox engines.
Yeah, isn't that something?
One run, and so we got with the production manager down there, and now they've changed it to 20, I think 25 and 35% nitro, and 50, or I can't remember if they followed the old Cox recipe and went like 1% synthetic and the rest caster. But in any case, the stuff runs great now. And he was he worked with us and sent us.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, a lot of us were testers and checked it out to see how it ran. And man, it runs like a bat out of hell. It's good stuff.
Yeah, I love those.
Also, the Glow Plug Boy, Fritz's, formerly Glow Plug Boy, is really good feel too, because I did a test. I did a test run for him when they first started up pre-production, and he sent me a quart of it. And man, I burned that stuff up in Little Satan like it was going out of style. It really flew.
I'm going to try some of his
both
stuff.
of those are really good and seem to be consistent fuels. And they're in plastic bottles, but they're sealed really.
Plastic bottles.
Fritz's bottles are sealed really good, but the Cox Super Power Fuel will leak if you leave it in a hot place on its side. So that makes me feel dubious about the contents after it gets.
You know, I carry my fuel and my starter, and when I was flying gliders with electric motors, I put in the light hose in a separate thing. You know all that story.
Oh yeah.
But down here in Florida, and my wife, I don't want to, if I use her car or whatever, I keep my fuel in an old cooler with my battery and stuff, and it keeps the fuel from getting overheated. And if there is a spill or a weeping problem or fumes, they're somewhat contained in the cooler.
Wow.
Now,
what about condensation when you drop that bottle of fuel into the ice after it's already been opened and exposed to the air? You don't think that's a problem?
Well, I don't put it in ice. It's just in the cooler to keep it from getting overheated.
Same principle, though. But not getting really, not ice cold.
I also, God, I don't know where I got. I was at some, I think it was the Weak Signals show. God, must have been 12 or 15 years ago. And there was a guy that was selling these little fertilizer, like little beads. And I put those in my fuel as soon as I open it. And here in Florida, that sucks all the moisture. If any moisture gets in that fuel, because it's, the fuel is, I think it's called hydrotrophic.
Yeah.
Packs moisture.
Hydroscopic.
Low fuel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Hydrophobic
by putting these little
water, and hydroscopic takes on water.
So do those little beads, do they dissolve?
No, they swell up, absorbing water.
That was my next question.
And I had an old thing. In fact, it's sitting over. I had an old bottle of Cool Power, 15%, the green, that was one of my younger sons, and it was for running his car, and it maybe is 4 years old, and it had the beads in it, about 2/3 full. The cap was tight, but the inner seal, the plug, I always put that back before I put my cap on. But that wasn't there. And my older son says, "Oh, that fuel's shot." Well, I pipetted out the old beads that were swollen up. They were about the size of a frozen green pea at that time, and they're about the size of a number 4 bird shot, okay, when you get them. And I put a fresh shot of beads in, and they swell a teeny bit. And I've been using that fuel to, I burned it all up in my Evolution 36.
Wow.
It ran fine.
Can you tell me the name of it so I can write it down?
Well, I don't know the name of it. I'll have it next time.
Yeah,
because I went to Home Depot. See, I went to Home Depot and I had to buy a bag of it. So I put a bunch in Ziplocs. The club field, I gave it away to. It was Christmas time. I gave it to the guys at the field. Here, put this. A lot of guys looked at me like, "Here's Crazy Terry." Anyway, so I'll get the name of it, but
that'd be awesome.
I have some, but I took it out of the bag because it attracts moisture. I live in Florida. I got mine stored in Ricky's hot sauce jars.
Good idea.
Because I got to keep the moisture away from it.
Is this an agricultural product?
Yes. Yeah. I believe it's a fertilizer. I'll get it. It's in the.
Okay.
I've got it. Believe me. I'll make an effort here to look that up.
That'd be great.
I'll give you the name of it. Yeah, and the only problem is you got to buy. It's not a huge bag, but you got to buy like a bag of it, and it's enough for you and take it to the field and get it some Ziplocs and give it to your friends.
Yeah.
And tell them, listen, it'll keep the, you know, usually if you're flying a lot, but believe me, here in Florida, it like right now today, my wife says, oh, it feels beautiful.
Yeah.
It was 91.
Yeah.
We've been at 99 and 100 for like 3 weeks.
I was going to
But it was
mention the
90.
same thing as today. We've had a front blow through, and it's been windy but cool and nice. And you know, well,
Yeah.
temperature is 82 degrees, and a
Beautiful.
pretty stiff breeze blowing. And I'm thinking, man, it feels so dry. Even the doors that are hard to open and close have loosened up. That's my best humidity gauge. But I looked at the little weather station on the kitchen table, and it was 77% humidity. So if that feels dry, I kind of feel like you do. Columbia's famous for being a highly humid town, and so I just thought
the stuff you're mentioning almost sounds like vermiculite, the little white things that you get in pines.
No. Yeah, I know what vermiculite is. That's a form of a porous open cell foam, sort of a foam thing. These are actually little resin or some sort of a fertilizer pellet. Light yellow, kind of banana colored.
something in it binds with the water.
Yeah, and you drop them in your field gallon.
Yeah.
And
do you ever get an ammonia smell out of it?
No.
Have you ever gotten a whiff of ammonia smell out of it?
No.
That's good.
No, I don't think it's
it's nitrogen that binds with the water.
Ammonia-based product. But no ammonia.
That's interesting. That'd be good to know.
Yeah,
I got some. Oh, Charles is back. How long you been back, Charles?
I don't know, 5 minutes.
Okay. I was waiting for you because I got some stuff to screen share if y'all don't mind me changing the subject.
Sure.
And somebody mentioned
man.
Somebody mentioned pictures of crashes the other night. So let's see here. Okay, let me get them adjusted, and then I'll show you some pictures. Sometimes I'm going to show you the plane pre-crash. Okay, there's one. There's one. There's one. There's one. Okay, round to the beginning. Sorry, I'll be there in a minute. Come on. Okay. First picture is taking forever. Y'all feel free to talk while I'm screwing around here. You know it's going to be forever.
Hey, the oxen is slow, but the earth is patient.
Yeah, I got a question on plastic tanks when you get done.
Yeah. Oh, I know plastic tanks.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to ask you, because I haven't run a plastic tank.
Not on control line. I don't do it.
Control line.
I don't do it.
Rusty has pretty good luck doing it, but
let's talk about that when I get through showing you these pictures.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
All right. Tell me what kind of plane this is.
Flight streak.
Looks like a flight streak.
It's a Skyray.
Skyray. That's the one I couldn't think of the other day that they copied.
And that's
The
why
only thing-
I don't know what the difference between the two is.
There's not a hell of a lot. The only thing I had to do is recalculate the shape or the total area of the elevator and stabilizer, because that's the biggest difference in the surfaces on this plane. The wing's about the same, except you can see I put flight streak tips on it, and changed the profile up along here and all, and got my eagle, and this is monocoat right here on top of monocoat, and that's just
nice looking
back there.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah.
So the flight, the Skyray it doesn't have that tip like that. Is it just like squared off?
It's flat like
that's
a
pretty much a big tip. That's similar.
Yeah, and
span on that.
that's just another view of it. It had a FP25 on it. And
Didn't put your aluminum gear on it.
yeah. And
Oh,
No.
Ouch.
Oh no.
I got a friend that comes to work on navigation systems at Shaw Air Force Base in McIntyre, ANG, right next to me. And so we get to visit about once a year. He's from Oklahoma, Ron Cribbs. He's on Stunt Hanger and Cox Engine for him. And so I was showing off for him. I had just flown it in my first contest that I built it for, and I just completely smashed it. So, you know what? The biggest mistake I made was using contest balsa, lightweight balsa for the ribs. I should have made them out of a little bit stronger.
So was that yesterday?
like A or B grain you were using, like B grain?
I don't know. A, is that the lightest?
On the wing ribs?
The lightest, whitest, and
Straightest grain.
grain.
Yeah,
This is, I flew a shoestring at my first contest when I flew beginner, and one of the guys in the club gave me this, only it was light blue all over when I first got it. And so I fixed it up, and it was old. He bought it to learn to fly stunt, and it had taken a lot of licks and been repaired, but I loved that plane. That thing flew great. I'd love to be able to fly it again today just to see how well I could handle it now that I know how to actually fly it.
Jeez.
Ouch. Wow.
That,
Well, you
I know what it was. The other night somebody asked or said they'd never had a wreck that just totally destroyed an airplane. That's where I got the idea.
They must not be flying. I don't know.
Man.
That's where I got the idea to do this.
Not be flying.
Wow.
And I wish I had taken a picture
You
before.
can't believe what I have in my garage attic.
I wish I had taken a picture before I unsplocked it from the mud, because it was soft ground that day. That was the day the Carolina Criterium ended, and I think I'd had a bad weekend, and I think I'd taken third place actually in something. But anyway,
Wow.
and that's my Cardinal. Oh, that's a little picture of it though. But it self-destructed in midair. It was old and fuel soaked and ARF, and and the flap controls let go, and I was in a down leg to pull out of a square, outside square of a square 8, and that's what ended. I also won first place in profile at the Joe Null contest for that plane, and that's the day I named it the Wind Warrior, because it was like 23, 24 mile an hour winds that day, kind of like Huntersville was this May. And that is the end of the Magnum. Yeah. That was the saddest day I've ever had in my control line life. And let me tell you what, it is way worse than it looks. I kind of stuck it back together, but I wish I'd rearranged a little bit. I wish I'd put the engine on top of my chest or something like that.
Wow.
You know,
we're still holding the handle.
I knew I shouldn't have flown that flight. But I was so sad, but I knew that someday this was going to be humorous for somebody. And I still have a hard time smiling over it. But so I took it with the handle still in my hand, you know, but when I won beginner in my second contest with that Skyray that I called Dirty Bird that I showed you a minute ago. Yeah. His name was Dirty Bird, by the way. John Tate from the Norfolk Aero Modelers came after I got my trophy and walked up and presented that to me as one of their deceased members' old planes, and one of our club members had rebuilt it, but they just wanted to pass it along to me, and no stipulations or anything, and so I didn't treat it like it was my plane. I treated it like it was whoever the next upcoming pilot would be, that when the time came I would present it to them, and that I blew that all to hell that day. I had finished flying. I had rolled up the lines, and was just sitting back in the chair, drinking a Coke and chatting with Wayne and Rich and Bob Zambelli. And So I said, hang on, like, oh yeah, I know, the wheels had fallen off of my Nobler and I didn't get to fly my last flight. And I was moaning in the chair saying, oh man, I really wanted to fly another flight. You know, and so Bob speaks up and says, well, you look pretty good flying that yellow plane. I said, what, that thing, the Magnum? He said, yeah. And Wayne and Bob said, yeah, go ahead and put her up for another flight. And I said, nah, the control line gods will treat me bad. And I didn't finish that sentence. And Bob said, there are no control line guards. And so they badgered me. And I'm not blaming them. I'm not blaming them. But they got me to hook it up. And the whole time I'm clipping the lines, I remember saying to myself, this is a bad idea. This is a bad idea. And I hooked it up and I cranked it and I took off. And I plowed it into the ground doing my inside loops of all things, the easiest stunt there is, and just demolished it. And it took me, I sat around and mourned it for a week. And that's not something I do with control line planes. I make myself get over it real quick, laugh about it, and go on, you know, but this was the only exception ever to that rule.
Wow, it's probably because of where it came from.
That's the story, and where I wanted it to go. I wanted to pass this on just like they had done to me. Another complete destruction. That's my Oriental. You can see it's been repaired before because look at the monocoque hinges I put on it to get it. Even this big old thing here's a hinge. And I had a cool fighter pilot jet in there, and it turns out that canopy also, I cut it, reshaped it a little bit. It fits my Nobler perfectly. So when I get that back going, that fighter pilot that says RN for Rusty Nail on the side, that's their joke name for me at Huntersville. And I'll tell you that story some other time. But I love this one. That was a good flying plane. I did win a trophy with it. I don't remember what it was. It was just something, and probably second place in intermediate. I might have lost to Suge Emery that day. I'm not sure.
Was that a Brodak outfit?
Yeah, it's just an ARF. Oh, and it was a piece of shit too. I mean, I had to redo the whole bell crank and bush it and put new lead outs, and had to actually the long rod to the back I didn't replace. I sleeved it. I just wrapped a piece of tape around it to keep it tight so it wouldn't slide back and forth. I didn't glue it at either end because I was worried about temperature causing the wire inside to stretch and crack the glue. So I just left it jammed on there with a little wrap of painter's tape, and all the way up from back to front, and there was no flex at all. So that I hooked up, and this, it flew right off the table. You know, the usual little flap tweak, but that's all, no balance, no nothing problem with it. It was a great flying plane.
I don't remember my son's having that firewall motor mount. I thought his was on maple.
Oh, wait, though, let me back up to that and I'll explain. That is its second crash.
Oh, okay.
One day I turned
where the maple blocks used to be.
You think about it, on a windy day when you're doing an overhead 8, if you fly it up and turn too soon, like straight overhead, all of a sudden you're in a crosswind. And it was a strong wind that day, and I fly in strong winds all the time, so I'm not afraid of them. But you turn too soon in an overhead 8, and you got a wind that'll blow you loose and have the line coiling up in front of your feet.
Right.
And so I broke the nose of it.
That's when you get the loop in the line. When you see the loop, it's all over.
Yeah, and so that's where this comes from.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it did have maple blocks originally.
It did, yeah. They're flush with the firewall, and the firewall is bolstered with an 1/8 inch ply and wrapped in fiberglass.
Did you run your engine up or down on that mount? Looks like it's high enough. You probably had your engine down with, you know, with your wheel plug going down.
Yeah, it was inverted.
Okay. Yeah, because the actual Oriental has the engine going up, doesn't it?
No, you thinking about a smoothie maybe?
No, the Oriental. maybe
No,
my
there are-
sun's go down. Oh,
no,
it does go down.
Orientals
That's
all-
right. It
Orientals
does.
all have inverted engines.
Yeah, you're right. Because what I did is I put a remote glow plug thing on his, so he could put the glow plug lighter, you know, in through a hole through the top, so he wouldn't have to lift and go in through the bottom. He hates that with them inverted
Oh
engines.
yeah, this picture I gotta fix. Let's see. No, wrong one. Hang on, I gotta fix the next picture. Where is it? Boom, boom, boom. Oh yeah, here we go. Let's shrink this down. This is the grand finale.
Oh boy.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
That is an MP Jet 061 running at full RPMs. And I guess knowing the RPMs it's running and counting the slices, I could probably calculate exactly how long it was my finger was in that prop. How long it took me to jam it in and pull it out. That took a while to heal. It was sore too. And that's black paint all over my fingers there.
Wow. Yeah, I got 11 cuts.
And that's it.
All
Let me
right.
go. Uh-oh. Am I not? Yeah, I'm not sharing anymore, am I? Okay, good. So anyway, I interrupted our conversation on that. We were going to talk about plastic fuel tanks next, I think, right?
Oh yeah. Well, that's okay. I enjoyed that. That was great.
I see Terry's muted. Are you still there, Terry? Oh, I guess Terry didn't watch. Or maybe he couldn't stay. Might have to take a 10-100.
Yeah. So on your fuel tank, you're doing a clunk tank. See, I've got one of them square ones that has the plug coming right out of the middle of the tank, right out of the middle.
Right.
So you can do your usual clunk, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Use your one tube to go in and go to the top for your overflow.
Right.
The other one going in, going down to the bottom for that's actually going to be your vent when you're inverted. So both of them coming out, you want to go one's going to go down, one's going to go up, opposites. So then do you turn them 90 and then have them heading into your wind stream, off your prop? Or do you just cut them off straight? Hold on just a sec. My sister's trying to get hold of me.
Okay.
Muffler pressure, fuel cam.
I drew this picture the other night when there was a thread asking about clunk tanks on the stunt hanger.
Huh.
I'm with you again.
Yeah.
That's
well, let's see. I'm trying to think. No, there's going to be no muffler pressure.
Then just run it straight into the wind.
Okay, I'll do that. I'll
you
try
know what?
that.
It doesn't have to be straight into the wind. It can be pretty much any position as long as it's a stable head pressure.
Well, you'll have one going up for your overflow, and that one, is going to go out and then 90 down. And then I was thinking of doing a 90 back towards the propeller.
Yeah.
Just to kind of give it a little pressure, and the same thing on the other one.
Yeah. Well, this would be.
I didn't know if that's where you set them up or not, because I'm not going to do any. This has no muffler. It's my Enya 35.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fine. This one right here, you just run straight in. But that is not Uniflow, of course. No. This is two tubes with brass wire wrapped around them and then soldered. You see how chamfer the ends. And this is wrong. That's not where the bump is. The bump's actually right here, so ignore that part. But it doesn't matter. But it runs right up to the end and cuts off with very little warning and zero gas in it.
Well, I'm going to try one.
Right there's a picture of a Dubro. You can get those Sullivans with the face slant. Can y'all see my mouse arrow right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I don't see it.
This part on the Sullivan slanted, so you get a better you get a better angle away from all the engine and stuff.
Oh, no, I don't. That one's a flat one. That one's like the one I got, mine square.
Yeah.
All the way around, and then the plug goes out in the middle.
Less room, so you got a little more room to work with.
Yeah, because you got that slant bringing where your plug goes in.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right.
The Sullivan would actually be better for my airplane too.
So did we answer your question? Is that what you were wanting to know?
Oh yeah, you did. Yeah,
Good.
I've got a couple of tubes down there that soft brass. I buy soft brass 1/8" tubing so I don't have to anneal this stuff.
What do you want?
Yeah, I do. I have tubes, and I also, like I was saying the other night, I got a cigar box full of just bits and pieces of K&S, you know, everywhere from a 1/2 inch long to 3 inches long.
Mm-hmm.
They put bar in there too. I've never had a use for any of the bar. And they've got square pipe and oval in it too. They used to give you a real big old handful of it for $3 or $4, and now you get this little teeny blister pack with a, you know, that might not even have every size in it, and that really irritates me. I need to find a new source for that, because you know I always stack pipe, stack tubes to do something, whether it's bushing a prop that's got too big a hole in it for the engine, or making, you know, fuel liner coupling controls, or, you know, just a million things to do with little bits and pieces of tubing without having to cut a long tube every time you want an extra piece. And it's got aluminum and copper and brass.
It's pretty cool. Okay, where'd Charles go?
He walked off. He's got his mic shut off. I wonder where Terry went. He disappeared during our crash show.
So you got a busy week ahead of you, Mike?
Yeah, somewhat. I turned 59 Saturday.
Well, good.
My mother-in-law, so
You're catching me.
Saturday. Can't forget my mother-in-law's birthday. It's the same as anyway.
Well, that makes it easier, doesn't it?
Makes life a whole lot easier. And busy week, yeah. Soon, hopefully soon starting physical therapy so my neck will behave.
Yeah.
How long did y'all stay on chatting the other night after I signed the stunt hanger feed off?
Oh, I don't remember. It was a few minutes.
Just a few minutes. Okay.
Yeah, I think it was something like 15, 20 minutes maybe.
Yeah.
There's Charles.
Yeah, then we shut her down.
I'll be back. I'm back.
We're getting about that point now. I think our conversation's kind of slowing down a little bit.
There's
Yeah,
one thing I
you guys
was
hear me?
going to suggest when we were
Yes.
doing all the talking about fuel and all that.
Yeah.
There is a series in Stunt News that is really pretty good. In 2008 and 2009, that is called the Stiletto Chronicles. That basically was Les McDonald talking about his stunt career, and it is flat interesting.
Really?
Yeah, there was synthetic oil. In fact, he found out the hard way about synthetic oil not staying around to protect from rust in '76 when he won his first championship. He rusted out 2 Super Tiger 46.
Oh my God, that's terrible.
Still won because he flew all the time. He flew daily, and the engine sat for about a week and a half without being run with that old X2C K&B.
And just drew in the water.
Wow. You know, I wanted to comment on the clunk tanks, or the plastic tanks. I don't do them anymore, but I used to do them all the time. And I know you didn't describe a clunk tank, Rusty, but one thing I learned from watching a Winnie video, he videotaped one of those stunt clinics at Brodax.
Mm-hmm.
And Rory Traffman, he's no longer with us, but he talked about what he did with clunk tanks, plastic clunk tanks, is he actually would put in 2 clunks, and he would shorten or lengthen the Uniflow clunk to make it a softer brake or a harder brake. And I've tried that. And I don't know if any of you have seen my Top Flight Score video on my channel, but that Top Flight Score, I used a plastic clunk tank in that with 2 clunks in it, and it was a Uniflow setup.
Yeah.
And it gave me excellent runs. I actually admire the advice that Roy Trantham passed along. It works pretty good. Matter of fact, he had a little funny joke because he kept calling up Sullivan or Dubrow. You know, he just wanted the clunks, and he also likes their tubing they use. The tubing inside the clunks. It's a little more flexible. It's soft. Yeah.
I don't like the stuff that comes with Sullivan and Dubrow. It's too stiff. What did he use?
That was back in the day, too.
He was using the white silicone tubing that comes in the clunk tanks.
Really?
Really soft.
What brand? Which brand did you say it was?
I think it was the Sullivan.
Okay.
So
maybe it renders up. I don't know. I use the blue stuff that I don't like for using for fuel tube. I think it's shit, I don't even know, but they sell it at Hobby Shop on the roll. So
yeah, blue stuff is stiffer and thicker than the stuff that comes stock inside the tank.
The blue stuff I'm talking about is more supple, and
really?
Compared to the white stuff.
Interesting.
So on your clunk, on your, say for instance, on your pickup tube, that's going to go to the back of the tank as usual.
Yeah, and it should go to all, when you tilt the tank, it should go freely to all 4 corners. But
right. So then the second clunk, is that a shorter clunk, or how does that work?
Yeah, shorter. And he would, if he wanted a softer brake, he would shorten. He would just keep shortening that Uniflow clunk until he got the kind of brake you want. If you wanted a harder brake, it would be longer, but it was always at least, 3/16 shorter than the pickup.
Okay.
But it could be, shorter than that to get a softer brake.
Huh.
But I really like that setup. I used it on my Top Flight Tudor and my Top Flight Score.
Yeah, how far behind?
Huh?
How far behind the pickup did the clunk trail?
About 3/16.
Okay.
And
with the same kind of tube.
And it's loose. They're both moving about where they want. They're not tied. I've done several clunk tank configurations. Some of them were where they both were tied together, but I found that was kind of restrictive when they're tied together.
Yeah, I tried that one time, and they wouldn't move. They wouldn't hit all 4 corners that way. But what you're describing, I'm going to try, because I completely gave up on making Uniflow clunk tanks. I tried several different ways, and I just couldn't make it work. So I'm going to go back and do it. I got 2 brand new ones that hadn't been put together yet, so I'm going to try that.
That sounds like it works.
So when you take your, I'm sorry, excuse me. When you take your tubes in, do you set them up side by side?
Well, they're in a triangle in the cap.
Yeah, but that's right. But so, instance, you'd have your feed tube on the outside, and then your Uniflow would be the bottom, and then the top one's going to be your overflow tube. Is that the way you set that up?
That's generally the way I do it. Yeah.
The way I do it is, I typically would have you got that rubber plug, right?
Yeah.
So I have my pickup on the outboard side of the tank and the Uniflow at the same height. So that triangle shape you're getting. So I would either have the overflow below it or above it. But typically I think I might have had it below it so I could have a nicer curve.
Well, you should be able to adjust the performance by just rotating the cap.
Yeah, people say that is the way to do it, but I've always actually physically lowered and raised my tank to get the kind of engine run I want for the inverted flight.
Is your baseline on the center line?
Yeah, the center of the tank is your baseline. But
what I'm asking is, my baseline with a metal tank is one rib higher than the glow plug, but baseline when I put a clunk tank on is straight through the center of the engine line, center of the tank, center of the engine.
Yeah.
And I was wondering where your baseline is.
That's where I start. But as I start flying the plane, I tend to have to raise the tank.
But you start out with it centered.
Yeah, start out with the center. But now, since I've had that, always had raised, I always start off with a little bit higher, 1/8 of an inch to start, and then I'll just raise the tank. And it's so funny because I have a guy I fly with. He's a little older guy, and he's kind of grumpy, and he's always going, "You don't need to adjust the clunk tank, you know." And I'm like, "Well, I'm trying to get a certain kind of engine run, you know."
Do you?
That's what I was just wondering. Is there? It is critical on your adjustment on your height on them, even though it's a clunk.
To me, it is. It's. I could tell the difference. I mean, the main is going slower, inverted. I want it to go faster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tank accordingly.
Would you do something for me next time you're flying if you get the opportunity to fool around? Is fly the plane, you know, get an idea of what it's doing that day, and then rotate that cap 1/4 of a turn and report back to me on what kind of change it makes, if you don't mind doing that.
Yeah, I haven't, you know, like right now I'm going to be flying my Strega. That has I've kind of gone away from plastic tanks. I'm actually, ever since Bill Biles taught me how to make these metal clunk tanks, and they're not Uniflow, by the way, just regular suction metal clunk tanks. They're the best tanks I've ever had. So I'm like, you know, let's kind of don't do that stuff anymore with the plastic tanks. Plus, I've had plastic clunk tanks leak on me. You know that seam, that weld? I've had that weld leak.
Right up at the neck.
Do that.
Screw that.
I had a half A Sullivan do that one time.
So you're bending and shaping and soldering and everything your own tanks now?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
sweet.
And the way that Bill Bow showed me is, I never even thought to do it this way, but he actually will get a block of wood and to fit in his compartment, he'll cut it to the right length. And then he uses that block of wood and he just rolls the tin, you know, so he gets his rectangle, right?
Yeah.
And then he takes that same block of wood and goes down on another piece of tin and makes his end cap. So that block of wood basically is like his former to make all the parts.
Yeah, that's I've made some. That's what I do too. The same kind of thing.
And he even drills a hole in the end of the wooden rectangle for its piping, you know, so that he can solder it and it holds the tube rigid while he's soldering it, and it holds it. It's like a heat sink too. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's what I do too. It's the same.
Does he snip the corner where each part of the end cap's going to bend down and fold over, or does he just force them into shape?
No, he actually will notch out a corner.
Yep.
So he notches out 4 corners.
Yeah.
And then he folds them over and he solders them.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go down real quick and grab one of them that I built. The other one I built is mounted in the T-Rex, but I've still got the one for my chipmunk downstairs. I'll go grab it real quick.
Yeah. All right. So I ever since he turned me on to that, and it's one expert pilot I fly with. He's been making his own tanks forever, you know, and to me there's nothing like him. I just love him. I'll probably never go back to a manufactured tank of any configuration, plastic or metal, whatever.
My only problem with it is it would take me too long to do, and I have limited use of my hands every day before they're so locked up I can't use them anymore. So little stuff like that, I think I'll keep buying them.
It does take a little bit of time, but you know the beauty of it too is that, you know, I can build a tank around the compartment as opposed to taking concessions when you go to a store or go online and you get the measurements and you try to figure out what's going to fit inside your capacity.
Another skill to take pride in. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And even on the, I think it was on the Strega, you know, I ran out of room to adjust the, so I made a second tank for the Strega, and I just moved my, pickup pipe up or down. No, I didn't. I actually shrunk the height of my tank, which actually lowered the pickup. So I still put the pickup in the middle. I mean, I actually draw an X and get the very center. So this is one thing which is kind of unique too. My pickup is actually in the center of the rectangle. It's not biased to the left or to the right. My pickup is actually in the center, and it's equidistant in every direction. So as the plane's going through maneuvers, that clunk is going across, back and forth, up and down, and it really helps get really nice motor runs. And so I don't know if you're following me, but to adjust, when I ran out of space,
Yeah,
I just shrunk my tank down. So essentially, by lowering, it lowered the pickup by just shrinking the height of the tank, even though the pickup was in the very center. And I calculated it because I knew I needed like a 16th or 32nd lower. You know, it's that's amazing. The other expert pilot I fly, he actually will make tank adjustments down to the 32nd of an inch. You know.
Wow. Yeah, here's my tank that I built.
Let me see that.
It's a clunk.
Lock on.
It's a clunk tank, and it's got the Uniflow soldered to the pickup tube on the clunk, but it's like a 1/4 inch shorter than the pickup.
Yeah.
So anyway, and I got this how to build these off of Al Raby's video on his Bearcat showing how to build them.
Is that the overflow in the rear?
This right here, the bottom one here is the fill, and then this one here on the outside is the pickup, and then the middle one here is your Uniflow.
I see something on the other end of it.
That's just.
Oh, now I don't see it. I'm not sure what I was looking at.
There's probably some glare off of the.
Maybe.
Yeah, I see a lot of glare.
But there's my seam, and I do the same thing. I take the wood with real square edge or the side of my work table, which is a steel table, where I can get a 90 bend, you know, that's pretty tight around the corner. And then I do the same thing here. I bring one edge back, so I end up having a lip, you know, one's back and then the other one goes into it. And then after I do that, I take a bar and put in inside, and I smash that down. So that's the same thing they do at Brodick with their tanks, but they have a machine that does a real nice job. So does that, and then I solder that. And then after that, what I do is I make the cap. I make a pattern out of cardboard, you know, thin cardboard. And then I get my holes located where I want them. And then I transfer that to this cap. And then I run about 1/4 of an inch, 3/16 to 1/4 overlap. And then you have to cut your corners, like you were saying, you have to cope your corner out. But on this one, I leave it long. So what I do on this one is I fold it over for a little extra strength. So it's folded over this way, folded over this way. Same here, fold it over. And then after I get my tube soldered in this, then I will mount this on upside down, just like he does with these holes in his wood. And it'll hold this, and then I can solder all the way around here, and then the cap's on. And then I build my Uniflow tube, you know, with my feed, and then you have to reach in there with long needle noses to get your fuel tubing on the brass tubing. And then after you get your length and everything, then you're all set up, and then you make your cap, and then you just put this on your wood, and I put something on top of this, got a little weight to it to hold it. and then I'll just run a bead of solder around here. It's pretty easy, really. And then when it's all done, you bring them up, put it in the sink, fill it up with water, and pressure test it.
Right.
I just blow on it as hard as I can, and make sure it's
test mine with the vents plugged.
And
Right.
you know, this
I
one's ready to
pressure
go.
test mine with the vents plugged, and then submerge it, and then pump it up and watch for bubbles.
Yeah, that's
Right.
what I'll do. It's like this tubing right here that's in
Right.
the Y that's on there. Then this one here, I'll just take this off and pressurize it with
Right.
more,
Exactly.
my flex tube, and then just pressurize it. And if you can blow in this, and you let your, and you pinch it off, and you take your pinch off, and you can feel the pressure come out of that tube. You've got plenty of pressure
Yeah,
in here.
exactly.
You're gonna
That's the
see
tail.
a leak. You're gonna see a leak. It's gonna
Right.
bubble somewhere.
Now, do you put a barb, Wally? Do you put a barb on that on your piping on the inside of the tank, so those tubes won't slide off?
No, what I did was I took some sandpaper and I went around and around and around and really grooved it with sandpaper, like heavy sandpaper, like 100
Right.
grit, and that's enough right there that where your tubing will grab that good. And then I just left it like that. I've never had tubing come off of anything. If I ever had any question, I would, take the large tubing and you could take your large tubing. Well, you could take large tubing, like if this was your feed tube right here, and you could put your large tubing over that.
Right.
If it's only about a 1/4 inch long, you get it wet and it'll slide on this. And I guarantee you, when you do that, it'll tighten this down and it'll never come off.
That's true. I've done that before.
Yeah.
But Dubro sells those barbs. You get like a pack of 4 barbs, and I solder those on. But the guy that showed me how to make tanks, he would just solder a little bit oversized little piece, like an 1/8 inch long piece of oversized tubing that'll slide over the 1/8 inch pipe, and he solders that on, and that acts like a barb. And the other thing he told me is that, whatever reason, I know it's all silicone tubing, but Wendy Wanowski always said use the pink stuff, don't use the blue stuff. And this guy Bill Biles told me the same thing. So on the inside of the tank, I make sure I use the pink, the Prather pink fuel tubing, not the blue stuff, but the pink or red stuff. I just do what they said to do,
Yeah, I'm sure that's a better way to go. Back in the day, we used to get fuel tubing from the hospital because they had the surgical tubing. That's what this really is, a surgical tubing. We used to get it from the hospital that was really soft. And
it like silicone.
And it would be for RC guys that your clunk's going anywhere. The only problem you'd have to have is sometimes it gets to where you're in a great big RC fuel tank, as if it's going to come over and pinch itself off, and then after, if you're going straight down, and then if you go back up, then it'll straighten out unless you got a problem. But the problem is coming down, and it actually kinks because the clunk comes down here. And some guys end up having a rope motor, Well, if it'll stay up there, the G-force is going to keep the fuel in the back of the tank. So you're
coming
good
straight
to go.
down.
Yeah.
Well, that must be, it must be pretty supple, flexible stuff.
Yeah, that stuff from the hospital was, and I haven't seen any of that stuff for years because.
Now, it was latex.
Huh?
It was silicone and not latex, right?
I believe it was silicone. Yeah. I think you're right. I think it was a silicone.
Yeah, I don't think latex would last very long.
Yeah. Yeah, the RC guys would love that stuff. But this is the very first tank that I tried to build, believe it or not.
Wow, you're good.
Then the other one I did was for the T-Rex. Like I say, it's in the T-Rex, but this is 4.8 ounces, and the one for the T-Rex was 8.4, I think. So these here are the ones that, like Rusty, I'm going to have to get a syringe that I can see how many ounces of fuel I'm putting in these, because these hold more than what I need to be. I mean, if I'm flying my Fox 40 with this at 4.8 ounces, I'm going to have a 9-minute run like I had the other night, you know, at 8.5. And for me, a 5-minute run is perfect. That's all I need to be out there in a circle. You know?
Okay. And that was the other nice thing too, is I could actually calculate how many ounces I needed, and I could actually make the shape I wanted to get the volume I wanted. And that's another thing that's what's so great about it. And you know, when I make my tanks too, is before I put the last cap on, which is the cap without piping, I actually hold it vertical, and I can see if I got that clunk at the very end. You know, because before I put the cap on, once I get the cap on, I can't see anything anymore. So before I put the cap on, I can really fine tune and get that clunk in the right spot where it's low all the way around the bottom of the tank. You know,
Well,
just,
you know, like this one here, Charles. When I built this, I don't know. Do you do calculations on how big your tank you need to build before you build it? Okay, that.
Yeah,
you know, I didn't do that. What I did was I took my fuel tank bay, I measured that, and then what I did was I made this an 1/8 inch shorter all the way around. So I'm only going to have an 1/8 inch to shim this, you know, if I need to shim it, because I wanted enough room in there to be able to move it. But it, you know, it's all the directions are enough to where I can move it. But it takes up the biggest part of the bay, and you know, and that's what it was 4.8 ounce. But and I did that calculation after the tank was full.
Yeah.
In fact, I did it on the internet, so it's pretty close, I'm sure.
Yes, Rusty.
Do you have any need? Do you feel the need to shim the rear of your clunk tanks out to compensate for the yaw angle?
I like to. I do. I just put a little bit on it. Yeah, I
do too. I hadn't experimented to see whether it's necessary or not. And my theoretically, my mind tells me it's not necessary, because the force to push the thing out is far all the way till it's in the corner.
Yeah, that's true. It's a typical force. And like I said, I have my fuel pickup right in the center of my rectangular tank. So it's going to be thrown out there by centrifugal force anyways.
Yeah, actually I do. Yeah, it has to be in the center if it's going to hit exactly the same place in every corner. And
yeah, and that's what I do. Yeah, I really like those tanks. Now my Strega, because that stalker is so economical, I mean, that Strega can probably hold a 7.5 ounce tank, but I can do the stunt pattern on the Strega with only 4 ounces. Wow. Actually 3 3/4 actually.
Oh.
That engine really gets some good fuel mileage.
Oh, it is. It's a phenomenal motor, but so I don't even need all that space. That's Stalker 81.
What size?
Stalker 81.
That's an amazingly efficient engine.
Wow.
Yeah, I've done the pattern on 3 3/4 of fuel.
Has it got the typical small venturi that all the other stunt engines have?
Not necessarily. No, it gets. I think I have some pretty nice size venturis. I have a 330 venturi.
Is it sprinkler or is it a spray bar?
Trying to remember.
Sprinkler.
So who makes that Stalker?
It's out there made in Ukraine. A guy named Oleg.
Ukraine.
Out in the Ukraine, yeah. It's one of those no nitro or very little nitro motors.
Oh, wow.
And you run regular about $400, $500 motor, 400-500.
Yeah, 450 I think they're going for right now. But I didn't pay that much for it. I basically have invested about $225 in my motor.
Oh wow!
Wow. You run nitro in yours, don't you, Charles?
A little less than 5%. It just
really
makes the needle better on just a little bit of nitro.
Hell of a lot easier to crank too.
What'd you say?
I said probably a hell of a lot easier to crank too, with nitro in it. Because even the FAI motors I've started, I've always had to prime them with nitro to crank them.
Yeah, I'll be flying that plane hopefully soon. I'm gonna start working on it again because once my Nobler went in, I really, and plus I'm planning on going to Madera, Minnesota, Mike, and so I'm gonna bring the Strega up there with me.
All right. So we got you all fixed up to come, huh?
Well, you know, I gotta sell some things on eBay to make some money. I try not to use the family finances, and even that's little. So I'm gonna have to come up with some extra money.
I understand.
To be able to do that. So I'm gonna be parting with some of my motors I don't normally use. I got too much stuff that I don't use anyways. I have too many engines and not enough planes, and I don't have enough space. Even if I was to use all the motors in all the planes, there'd be no places to store them. I mean, I'm surprised no one noticed that I hung up my T-Rex up in the wall.
I did see that.
Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that too.
I got it off the floor. I've had it on the floor there for almost a year and a half, I think.
Yeah, see my son's T-Rex, that's the one I put that big metal tank in that I just built. And I'm just waiting for him to get over here so we can go fly it.
Yeah, go fly it. That T-Rex is an electric plane, and you know, I just have too much invested in Glow. I'll eventually will try it. Another pilot, he actually sent me a bunch of electric stuff. He sent me everything except for the batteries. So I really have no excuse to he wanted me just to try it. And I just need to get set up. I don't really don't know much about electric, you know. I mean, I was an electronic technician in the day, so I know about electronics, but as far as electric airplanes, it'd be a whole new learning curve. And you know, it just takes time and money. It's kind of hard to find time to do everything.
Yeah, that airplane's big enough. It'll take a hell of a battery to crank that baby up.
Yeah, I'm going to consult a guy who's pretty proficient in electric. He invited me down to his house, and he said he'd even would hook me up with some batteries just so I can try it. But awesome. I got a bunch of stuff to. I mean, the guy sent me the you know, the controller, the motor. I guess with all that you need. I just don't have the batteries. So I will eventually get that going, but that's really a low priority. I mean, that's like, yeah, when I have the time, I'll get to it.
Yeah.
Hey, Terry.
Yes, sir.
Did you were you away from your when I was doing my crash and airplane show?
well, I saw most of them, and then I had a overseas call I had to jump on, so I apologize. And then I had to run and get my charger. And
hey, I don't think we will ever run out of things to talk about, man. Y'all are a great group, but there's only so long I can hang in there.
I understand. I appreciate it.
No problem.
I should work on some homework. So.
Yes, Mike.
Yep.
So one quick question: where do you get your metal for your tanks? Is that K&S metal and stuff like that?
I think it's the 8000s.
Okay.
8000s or 7000s.
You can buy that locally most places.
Yeah. You have a little brake.
You know, I have the brake from I bought from Harbor Freight. It's 18-inch brake.
I got one.
Used it, but I have a video of Eric Rule making fuel tanks. You know, RSM distribution. He did a show and tell, and he has a nice little brake setup. But the system that Bill Biles showed me, I don't even need a brake. I mean, I could do that with just 4 minutes around that wood. You know, it's a nice hard piece of wood. It's not balsam, mind you.
Yeah.
It's some hard wood, and you can. I even will take the tin up against the wall, and I'll press the wood against it, and I'll just make my folds against the wall. Something hard I can press against. And it's just a great system, and I would have never known how to
I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to give it a shot. I love soldering.
This is all handmade with no machines other than the drill to drill my holes for my tubing holes. That's all handmade right there. And it's even got the squish in here, you know, with both of them squished together to get a good solder on the seam there.
Yeah.
And it's not that hard. And
so you make your end caps over a form also?
Yeah,
form?
what I did was I just drew them out on a piece of cardboard, made them what I wanted overlapped, and then I cut it out and then cut my notches for the corners, and then use your boards for bringing them up and bending them, and then slide this right on there, and then solder it on. Same thing back here. Once you get your clunk all going, then you solder this one on and then pressurize it. But it's not as light as a plastic tank, but and it's probably not as metal. It's probably not as light as a Brodak tank because there's a little more solder in the corners. Yeah. Because I wanted to make sure it wasn't going to break out in the corners. But I'm not afraid to run it at all. Like I say, the T-Rex has got one in it that's probably a third bigger. Well,
nice job on that. Well, I'm going to give it a whack.
Oh, the other thing I failed to mention is you want to use solder which has no acid. So no acid solder. And then I have a 250 watt Weller gun, and that solder gets bright and shiny with a lot of watts.
Yeah, that's what you want.
That's what I think mine's the same Weller gun. I think it is.
But make sure you have no acid. You don't want any acid in that tank. Yeah, no acid solder.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Well, Rusty wants to bug out. Did he leave?
I know that's totally
no, I'm sitting here messing with
I'm gonna bug out.
I'm sitting here trying to decide if we got a spammer on YouTube or not. I don't know if he is or not, but we made it through the show without getting clobbered tonight. That was
all right.
Well, that's not anybody's fault.
We'll keep our fingers crossed for the Voodoo team tomorrow to bust the record out.
We did the right thing on that night, though, is just kept our conversation going after the first shot. But anyway, all right, guys, I'm going to hit the sack, but I enjoyed it as usual. Have a lot of fun doing this. Y'all are great.
Do. It's informative and you can learn stuff.
I know.
Okay, guys.
I always watch it again to get the parts I missed. I can't.
Yeah.
I'm always curious. What did I miss? What did I miss?
Let's do a winter build project. Let's do a group build. Let's all build smoothies or something over the winter. No arts. We got to build them.
Well, a cardinal do. I got to build my.
Well, I got a cardinal. You want to do a cardinal build?
I'm building.
We can all build cardinals.
My next build is a Thunder Gazer.
Y'all will leave me in a cloud of balsa dust because I'm a slow builder.
I'm slow too, Rusty. Don't worry about that. I'm slow also.
Well, we can keep it all together. My deal is getting the camera down the basement to be able to, without moving my computer down there. Either that, or I'm going to have to get me
the same
iPad things or something.
I have the same problem. I need to get my stuff down there too.
I wish I had some kind of booster so I could, because this is 150 feet to the shop. And if the weather gets cold, I'll have the door closed. And so that ain't helping anything. But we'll give it a try.
With you all Friday, probably?
Yeah.
Okay. Talk to you later. Bye.
All right.
Hey, guys. Enjoy it.
All right, guys. I enjoyed it. Thank you. Talk to you again.
All right.
I'm going to take off, too. We'll see you guys.
Okay. And to our 4 viewers on YouTube, thank you. Appreciate y'all coming in and participating. And, as I hate to ask, I hadn't been asking lately, but if y'all would hit that super chat button, that $sign down at the bottom of the chat box on YouTube, that'd be great. Man, for the time and equipment it takes to do this, kind of helps us keep going. So, and much as we seem to, be successful, I enjoy it. And so until Friday, tight lines, fair winds, and we will see you later. Y'all have a great week, okay?
Bye.
See you guys.
Bye.
See ya.